down, dicka down, dicka down, bow, 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 dum dum, dum 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 dum. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Everything is Fine podcast. I'm your host, Matt Ebersol, and guess who's not here today? My other host, Sean Wilson, has decided to take a day off, and instead I'm joined by two lovely guests, recurring guests on the show. Please welcome back Colleen. From just our previous episode, the Avatar episode.
Baby.
And yes, currently suffering from my defeat from Colleen. From Bloodbath. I am now no longer undefeated, so props to Colleen.
I mean, if I didn't win the Avatar episode, I would win nothing in my
life.
No,
if I had beaten you, that would have been a massive upset.
That would have been a huge L on my part.
And then making his glorious return to the show.
Glory to Los Pollos.
Glory to Los Pollos. It's been, I think, 11 episodes since you've been on. Please welcome back Conor Hoffman.
Hey, it's me.
The prequel hater himself.
Yeah.
He has returned. But today, we are here to talk about yet another television show. This one's actually kind of the inverse of Avatar, in the sense that they all showed me Avatar very recently. Now it's the complete opposite. It's a show I've been a fan of for a very long time, and I just introduced these two lovely people to it, and that is Breaking Bad. Yes. But once I watched Avatar, I made a deal with them that they would then watch Breaking Bad for me. And did you like it?
Was the deal to your liking?
Was the show to your liking?
It was.
I did like it.
It was.
Good.
I had watched Breaking Bad before.
Same.
And stopped watching it because it was bad. To me, at the time. I don't know why, because when I rewatched season 1 again, it was one of my favorite seasons in the whole show. So I was confused as to what happened.
Yeah.
I really like Breaking Bad. I ended up... It immediately made its way into my top 5 after the second season.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you said it's with, what, like, it's not ahead of Lost or Avatar.
No.
But, like, it's up there
and then depending on how you go about viewing Game of Thrones...
I prefer Game of Thrones a little.
And the Leftovers in West... I think it's around the Leftovers in Westworld, but I think it's better than both of them.
Well, the thing with Game of Thrones is, like, I honestly do believe that Game of Thrones has higher highs.
Yes.
But, like...
There's also, I feel
like... But
lower lows.
Lower lows and just a horrendous finale. Whereas...
The finale was so horrendous. I don't even... It's trauma.
Whereas this show, depending on if you thought the finale was the greatest thing ever or not, I think everyone can agree it was a very satisfying
There was not
conclusion.
a single bad episode.
No, yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. There were some like annoying moments or like characters that maybe did stuff you didn't like.
The Brandon Cooks of TV shows.
I almost stopped watching it at one
solid.
point because I was so frustrated at the end.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. We'll get there. I was on the edge.
But we're basically just going to do a play-by-play, and then I am going to host a bloodbath segment between these two.
The two undefeated champions.
Yes, because Conor beat Sean in our DC episode.
Demolished.
And then you really did demolish him. I think you might have swept him or come close to it. And then Colleen just recently came off a victory against me. So,
just barely.
2 1-0 champions.
You may have demolished, but I took out the champ. So.
Oh, yeah, I beat Sean, so it's not it's not a big deal.
And Sean's not here, so he can't defend himself.
Nerd.
He's in the other room. Maybe he'll hear us.
He has a lot of Rick and Morty to catch up on. So.
Yeah, he said he's going to do homework. I walk in to ask him for something before we record, and he's watching Rick and Morty.
And there's just Pickle Rick, and he's like, my essay.
Before we get started, I do want to quickly clear up one thing, though. Last week, we did not have an episode of the show. You might be wondering why. Well, on Instagram, it said that we were experiencing some technical difficulties. And by technical difficulties, it meant Sean's brain difficulties. Because...
Don't expose him like this.
Because what we did was we were actually supposed to play some trivia games, but Sean and I were very displeased with our performances. I was willing to release it. He was not.
I was apparently such a bad guest that you cut my episode
out. Yeah,
out.
you were asking us the questions, and it was actually really fun. But
it was quite painful for me.
Yeah, Sean did
Real
not perform
Bimbus
super
hours.
well. I performed better than him, but like both of us still did not do very good.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering what the hell that was all about, there you go. But okay, so Breaking Bad. So for clarity, you both watched this show within the last like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And you finished it very recently.
Uh-huh.
And we've seen El Camino, but we haven't seen Better Call Saul.
I have not seen Better Call Saul either. I'm actually
Big fan.
I'm waiting for the final season to start airing, and then I'm gonna watch the whole show before it starts, like the final season.
And then you're gonna act like it's been like you've been watching.
And I'm gonna act like I've seen it. And I'm gonna be like,
God,
day one, But no, I watched Breaking Bad when I was a junior in high school, and I watched it. So that must have been 5 years ago, I guess, by that time. So it has been part of my pop culture lexicon for a very long time, and it's by far my favorite show of all time, and it's up there for you guys. So I'm excited to get started. So season 1 is one of Connor's favorites, and it's one of your favorites too, right?
I did really like it because I liked Walter in season 1.
Yeah.
Well, he starts off very innocent. He's very innocent.
As an educator, all three of us are future teachers. We really appreciated the theme of the show being that being a teacher is the worst, and it's
so
better.
unfulfilling.
It's better
I'm not
to
going to teach in New Mexico.
it's like he was a failure for being a teacher, and I really appreciated that message.
Like, wow, thanks.
That if you're a teacher, you just gave up on real goals.
Kev Dev's thrown that around before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but
bro,
to be
why
fair,
would
he
you
was a
say
teacher
this?
in New Mexico.
And he was a high school teacher, and he's also like way above his element in terms of his abilities.
He's not just one of us lowly teachers. He could have been a billionaire chemist, genius, but
he's a bimbo.
Yeah. He did not. He made some bad life decisions.
He really was Breaking Bad. Truly.
And then in season 1 he runs into Connor's favorite character and begins cooking meth with Jesse.
Oh no, Gus isn't here yet.
No, but your favorite character is Jesse.
Oh, Todd?
Yeah, Jesse.
Oh, Jesse. Oh yeah, no. No, Jesse is what I did to the prequels with Matt is what I'm going to do to Jesse today.
Oh my god.
Because I am someone that has never ever liked Jesse. I think he's a great character, and I think he's really good for the story, but I don't like him. Like, he's not my favorite, whereas, like, I know Matt loves Jesse.
I do like
and, like,
Jesse.
Sean, or, not Sean. Sean hasn't watched this. Colleen loves
That's why he's
Jesse.
not here, if you're wondering.
And I'm just like...
Tell him you're not allowed to.
And we could start with season 1. I just feel like every season, Jesse is a plot device for Walt to do crazy stuff.
I will say, Walt's undying loyalty towards Jesse does maybe stretch its boundaries.
And then falls off a cliff.
Especially by the end.
I like what they did at the end.
Oh no, I loved their ending. I thought it was very well.
that
I thought it was very well handled. But I do agree. I agree with you that sometimes throughout the show, it's kind of like, okay, Jesse. Once again, Walt chooses Jesse over something else, and like he has to do something drastic to just keep it.
It's very similar, and it's Jesse usually being dumb.
Well, I feel like you don't like the emotional archetype of like I'm reckless and emotional and sad,
No, it's
but
just-
I try to do the right thing.
Jesse is nice and dumb, and Walt is mean but smart. And I'm much more like Walt in every season, because he's making smart decisions outside of perhaps season 5, the last season.
Yeah, 5.
Right?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Because of the ending, right? But again, everyone feels real. Like, that's the number one thing about season 1 is and this is why I love Lost, and this is why I love The Leftovers, because every character is real and very, very, very well written.
Yeah.
Especially coming from AMC, because the only other big AMC show that I've watched is Walking Dead, which started strong.
They also made Mad
Men. Mad Men, so I haven't watched that.
I've never seen that either, no.
But I was like, oh, Breaking Bad's going to be like, there's going to be 2 good main characters and then useless side characters.
Not the case.
But I love Gomi. Like, Gomi's barely in the show. But he's in season 1, and he's in all of these seasons, and he feels real. Like, in season 1, one of my favorites was Hank.
Yeah.
And Hank is a pretty awful person in season 1.
He's definitely the...
Pretty much throughout.
Yeah, he's very cocky, very full of himself.
Well, he's very, like,
classic,
racist cop, you know what I mean?
Cop guy, yeah.
But, like, at
kinda
the same
is a racist
time,
cop,
he's a great person to his family.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and he's so driven with his job because he wants to just figure
But it
things
feels
out.
so real. Because he's a person that, like, I definitely feel like I would have a thanks. He's the guy at Thanksgiving
that like says something that's just over the line, and you're like, Uncle Hank, like that was weird.
And Marie is very real, and Skylar's very real, and Walt Jr.'s very weird.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, these characters are real. That doesn't always make them likable, because I think I speak for everyone when I say that Marie, I don't like.
Is an icon.
She at least is an icon, but like
at minimum, she's iconic. Kind of like Wendy Williams. Eccentric,
Okay.
but iconic.
Kind of like Lola Bunny. Yeah.
Stop with the Lola Bunny.
But yeah, no, Marie. I mean, they made her almost likable in a couple seasons, but
No, not at all. Never.
She has moments. And
I
then
almost was there with her.
Every time
times.
Marie speaks, I want Hank to just shoot her. Like I want her.
Oh my
I want,
God.
I want Hank to give up and
You
like
want
hide
Hank
the
to
body.
join the
well, in
40%
season
of cops
one,
that-
she's the. Remember, she, like she shoplifts in season one. And they're
Iconic.
like, what do you do?
She shoplifts and
Iconic.
yeah.
She's also the one during the whole family intervention to just be like, Walt, if you want to die, go for it. Like, and honestly, props
She's
to
like,
her.
go off, King.
Because everyone else is like, no, we're paying, and she's like, honestly, do whatever you want. If you want to die, go die.
She's a chaotic queen, and I love that.
And then also, most people, I'm not one of these people, but most people actually do not like Skylar, like at all.
I really didn't like Skylar until she found out, and then I thought Skylar was interesting.
So you didn't like Skylar when Walt was lying to her.
No, yeah, I thought Skylar was really just. No,
Well,
actually, I'm lying.
Your big thing about
No,
her
my-
was that you didn't like.
No,
that
the
she
big
made-
yeah, I'm lying. The reason I didn't like Skylar is actually when she found out. That's when I really was upset with Skylar because I'm like,
And that's
You're-
when the whole Ted Beneke thing started too.
yes, and that's when I was
No,
like,
I feel like you were not to speak for you, but I feel like your rage for Skylar was like at the middle of the show. So
Yes,
you
yeah.
didn't love Skylar, but you didn't hate her.
When
and then in the
she
middle of the
knew-
show, you hated her.
right when she
Even
knew.
with the cancer too.
Yes. Right. Oh yeah, the early seasons when he gets cancer and Skylar and the whole family, except for Hank, because he's a bro, make it about them and
Yeah.
not about like Walt at all. And
Yeah.
that was like huge on Skylar. Like, this is so hard for me. And I'm like, no one cares about what Walt wants or thinks.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, so I understand.
I've just been very pro Walt along the way.
Yeah, I feel like.
I was
wouldn't
pro Walt
let-
too until some things.
I
but
feel
we'll
like I
get
wouldn't
there.
let my husband choose to kill himself. Like, oh, I'm just not going to treat my cancer. I'd probably push back on that. But I do agree that, like, Skylar made a lot of it about her. And, like, a lot of her reasoning a lot of the time, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I get what you're saying. But sometimes it was frustrating, or, like, the cancer stuff did irritate me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, we saw how manipulative in later seasons Walt was. So it was like, is Skylar seeing through that, and is the audience being manipulated by Walt? Because there was the thing with his kids, which we'll get into later.
Mhm.
And I was kind of like feeling as if she was overreacting, in my opinion. But then I'm
Yeah.
like, is she?
Yes.
That's
That
a good
was
point.
my biggest thing with Skylar. I'm like, if Colleen comes to me with that much money, I really don't care where it came from. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, or in the case of Walt Jr., if my father, if I found out that he had this much money and he was leaving it for me, I might have some empathy. But that could just be because I'm a person that loves money.
You mean if Walt knew that Walt was doing this for him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the family?
I mean,
I agree.
I think it's noble. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like, even though it's, about how he's gotten it, and to be fair, like, yes, he does, Walt ends up doing some pretty bad things, but like, in this, like, in the big picture, he didn't have to do that many bad things to make that much money.
No, but after a while he was choosing to. Like,
Well, it's different when you get that far, but yeah.
yeah.
I think I would have stopped before Walt did, but...
And also, well, we'll get into it later, but I feel like I hear you hinting on, like, oh, it's noble, and, like,
Yeah.
as if he was doing it for
No, I was
Walt.
so pro that.
But, like, that's not true.
I think it's both true. So, like, again, if we're jumping
think
to the
it
last
might have
season where he
started
says
that
it's
way.
about
Him.
it's about him. I think it was about both, though. I think he was trying to prove that he could provide value, because the show touches on the traditional role of a male in a household a lot, of being a provider, and how Walt has failed at that. Because the first season, they were behind on bills. Everyone makes fun of him. No one takes him seriously.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very much like a father figure fails moment. So I think it's for Walt in the sense that he's providing. So it's both. It's
I
for
guess
his
so.
children and for him.
I agree. I think the reason, though, he got into it for his family,
Yeah.
but then throughout, his morals changed. Because if it was just for his family, he would have stopped a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But his ego and the fact that he was really enjoying it and the fact that he was actually feeling fulfilled in his life,
Well, he
that
felt alive,
prolonged
He
to
also
let
felt
him keep
powerful.
going.
So it's like, it's the first time that he was taken seriously. He felt
Yeah.
in a
Well, yeah,
position
just
of
look
power.
at season 1.
Well, the
Yeah.
moment I think pivotally changes his morality on the whole thing, in terms of like, I was doing this with my family, now I actually like am liking this, is the scene with Tuco when he explodes his little place and he gets in the car and he like pounds the steering wheel. He's like, "Ugh!" Like he's like full of adrenaline.
Yeah.
That was when I think it all changed.
He's had a boring life.
Because he finally felt that rush and he was like, oh my gosh, like this is freaking awesome. Also,
Wait,
Tuco.
I'm cool.
Also, Tuco. Tight. What a great villain. Like, he's
What
just
a
so
guy.
crazy.
Yeah, I think season 1 was it was super solid in that case. Like,
And I
they
feel
had
like
many villains that were good.
It felt realistic as well, because he's still, like, dealing with random
I
drug
liked watching the
dealers.
show from the perspective of I don't know how to get into this game, because it was useful, because I don't know how the meth game works, and I like watching...
How educational.
Yeah, well, I liked the earlier seasons because he's not in the thick of things, and Walt doesn't know what he's doing. And I think that was a lot more fun than when Walt becomes...
Just
Heisenberg.
Kingpin.
Somehow becomes Kingpin. Yeah, I thought that was very, like...
You didn't find it as, like...
as exciting.
Okay.
It felt less dangerous.
That's fair.
I guess
but
that's also why Walt was maybe upping the ante, like, constantly throughout the show. Because it was also, like, whenever you think, like, oh, he's, like, this Kingpin guy now, there's nowhere else to
It's
go.
kind of like when you watch a superhero...
He, like, creates
Well,
it.
honestly, he doesn't really become the man until about halfway through 5.
Right.
Because in season 4, he's still very much so a
Well,
subsidiary.
3 and 4 are different because he has the world's best boss of all time.
Oh
so
my God.
that's different.
We'll
He really
different.
has job security in those
Do we
seasons.
want to hop to season 2 and so then we can...
Well, yeah,
season
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 1
1 and 2 are kind of the same thing.
I view season 1 as its own arc because, behind the scenes little knowledge, season 1 was actually cut short because of a writer's strike. So that's why this ending of season 1 just feels so abrupt.
Yeah, and you
that
told me
season
that
2
Jesse
picks
was
up.
supposed to.
And Jesse was supposed to get offed in season 1.
That's crazy.
And the reason why they didn't is because of the writer's strike and because they were impressed with Aaron Paul's performance.
And plot devices.
You just really do not like Jesse.
Yeah.
I love Jesse. I think Jesse is such a compelling character.
I do think it's important to distinguish, though. You're not saying Jesse's a bad character. You just personally do not like him. It's like saying Marie is super unlikable, but
Jesse's
iconic.
very real in the situations that he goes through. I get why he reacts in the way he does. It's just that, like,
You just don't root for him?
I don't root for him ever.
I feel
And
like
I also
highly
don't...
emotional characters you don't necessarily always like anyway. Like,
What do you mean? But, like,
you
you know,
tend to get
Hank is
frustrated.
emotional in different ways.
See, Jesse is like one of the only people that I actually like consistently rooted for in like the entire show. Because I liked his...
Jesse is just season 1 Zuko every season.
He has so
It's
many...
just making dumb mistakes.
But he has so many moments that show that humanity in him and that care.
Yeah,
in him.
again, he's very real, but like
that scene in episode in season 2 where he goes to that meth addict's house and he plays with the kid, the peekaboo
Right,
episode.
yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's almost like
Well, and I
watching
thought El
someone
Camino was
mess
great.
up over
and
and
El Camino's
over
great.
again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like watching somebody make poor life decisions over and over, and it's like that's very realistic.
like this was good for the first 3 times, but now Jesse's still
Well, I
doing
remember
it.
you were you criticized Jesse because you were saying all that his arc ever is that he gets really depressed, goes on a drug binge, is sad, and then has to like be saved by Walt.
Yep.
And then we repeat it over and over again. But
Yep.
that's also
Well,
because like he tends to be depressed.
And then people are like, "Well, it's
He has
because
to be
Walt did
saved by
this awful
Walt.
thing," and I'm like, "Walt did this awful thing because Jesse would have done something dumb if he didn't."
Well,
not really
I want
again.
that. We'll get into that during the end of season 3, because the end of season 3 I think is really cool in the sense of how they play that out. But
Well,
season 2,
I did really like season 2. I mean, one of the biggest shocking moments where I think, because again, I do think I agree the Tuco thing is when he first got a taste for it, like he enjoyed it. But I think all of his actions up to that point could easily be reasoned away. Like, oh, well, they were all like people that were going to hurt him. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't. The scenes with Jane, right? Jane?
Yes.
The specific scene within the finale with her was insane because when I
When she
previously
dies?
watched, yes,
Yeah.
because I previously watched Breaking Bad, and I got like halfway through season 2, and I initially liked it because I marathoned the whole thing, and I got halfway through season 2, and then I just never picked it up again. I don't know why. I just never was really in the mood to, like,
Honestly,
watch it.
most people do that when they first watch the show. I don't
It's
know why.
weird,
It's just very odd.
Yeah, so I got hooked on it, and then I almost overdid it, and then I stopped watching. But I never knew, because I knew that Jesse had a girlfriend, but I never knew what happened.
Yeah.
And that was, like, the first, I feel like, real innocent person that Walt, like, killed, basically.
Well, yeah, up until then,
No, not innocent at all, because she did threaten Walt, and it was super dumb, and Jesse was doing dumb stuff.
Is it okay to
And
kill
if
someone because they
if
threaten
she
you?
was kept alive,
Okay, Hank.
Jesse would have done dumb stuff. Again, used as a plot device for Walt to have to do something awful.
But also, here's my thing.
I disagree with that.
Walt, that's weird, because Walt is taking it upon himself to make decisions for Jesse, which he doesn't need to
Because
do.
he has to! Oh my
That's not
gosh!
true.
Because I'm like, oh, if I'm Walt, I'm like,
literally doesn't
Jesse,
have
you
to.
dummy!
But you don't have to murder someone for that reason.
Well, what was the situation? Wasn't she blackmailing Walt
No, she said if you don't give Jesse his half of the money...
to use on drugs for Jesse to die in an OD? Yes.
Okay, I don't agree with you. That's Jesse's choice.
No, that would have happened.
It's Jesse's choice, and this girl was making Jesse happy.
Yeah, but again,
And-
we're at that phase where, like, Walt sees
Walt
Jesse as like
killed
a son.
Jane, but Walt killed Jane. I didn't kill Jane. He let Jane die because he knew that if Jane were alive, then Jesse would eventually leave Walt
Yes.
and be with Jane.
Right.
So he killed Jane out of selfish reasons,
Yes.
not because of what Jesse was gonna do.
But I think it's a selfish...
He didn't kill Jane out of respect for Jesse. He killed Jane because he was like,
Because he likes Jesse. He loves Jesse.
yeah, so he
But
wants
that's-
Jesse for
that's
himself.
his reason.
That's a selfish reasoning. That's why Jane died.
Right. If Jesse...
And that scene was
if
ridiculous.
Jesse hadn't gotten Jane addicted to drugs... You know what I mean? It's like, it's always Jesse's fault. Like, it's always Jesse's
How
fault.
is this Jesse's fault?
Because she
Well,
wouldn't have
I
started
guess.
using if it wasn't for Jesse.
I get that. It
guess.
was. You could play devil's advocate. It was, again, her choice.
Walt would not have been in that situation.
She was in recovery, though, so it's tough because, when you're in recovery, it's like an addict's always an addict, so it's hard if you're, like, waving this in her face, like, oh, I'm gonna go do meth or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't have to, but
Listen,
I'm going to.
Yeah.
So it is, like, her decision, air quotes, but, like, it is, it's unfortunate. And I don't think that she would have gone down that path if she didn't meet Jesse, which is unfortunate. But...
Season 2 also has some of my favorite little arcs in the show because at the beginning of the season we have the whole thing where they get kidnapped by Tuco and they go kill him and all that stuff. And then Walt then uses that fugue state excuse, and it's those 2 episodes and everything, which was a really fun time. And then one of my favorite episodes of the whole show is when Jesse and Walt go on that long binge of cooking for like 4 days and then they get stranded. I love that episode because it has a lot of comedy when like Jesse leaves the keys in the ignition and everything, and like this science bitch and all that stuff. Like, some good stuff. And season 2 introduces us to some of our favorite characters because we get to meet Saul for the first time in season 2.
Great character.
And I love Saul Goodman. What a great character for this show.
And that means we met Mike, correct?
We also met Mike at the end of the season, and in episode 9 or 10-ish, we met Connor's boy.
Glory.
Is season 2 to your liking?
Yes. Season 1 and 2, again, I like you, put them together.
Yeah,
It's,
no,
like,
they
it's like a
absolutely
great
are on art.
introduction.
Yeah.
And I think that season, if you combine them especially, I think season 1 and 2 are the strongest.
That's so surprising.
Until you get to season 4 or 5. I think 3 was probably the lowest or the slowest. From what I remember.
I can understand that.
Because, again, it's a show about you working for the best boss in the history of bosses, with job security
I have to
and
agree.
healthcare and paid work leave. I mean, you're really just it's
I'm
like
excited
it's
for you
like
to
I'm
get
watching
talking
The
about it.
Office now because it's just like a typical work day. You know what I mean?
It's a typical work day.
He makes you stew from his home.
Yep.
I guess we can start talking about it now. Gus is Connor's favorite character.
Yes, he is.
And
Glory
he's
to
one of
Gustavo.
your favorites, I think,
do-
too.
I
I don't
do
think he's
love
your
Gustavo.
favorite because I think we're going to get to your favorite eventually.
Oh, perfect.
But-
I do
When
love
people
Gustavo,
reference him as
though.
like one of the best of villains, I think that he's one of the best
Is
heroes.
he that much of a villain?
He's not.
He's not he's just a
He's
antagonist
just
to
a
Walter.
guy. Well, yeah, he's just like a drug kingpin.
But to be
he's
fair, these are
not
the 2
that
seasons.
Well,
bad.
Gus honestly is the perfect version of Walt in the sense of like he's a better Walter White. He's able to
But
handle his
Walter
business more.
is almost on a sliding scale from Gustavo to Jesse. Walt's in the middle. Because Walt was acting really weird and emotional whenever Gustavo would be like super rational.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, this is how it has to be. And then Walt would start freaking out and doing dumb things because that was when he was sabotaging Jesse at that point, because Jesse was working with Mike and like Walt was in hot water and he started like basically sabotaging everything.
Mm-hmm.
So on the sliding scale, I think at one end is Gustavo, just like computer brain of like, this is what the good play is and this is what isn't. And then we have Jesse, who's just like a siren constantly going off in your brain and like deep weeping. And I think Walt's right in the middle.
Connor loves
and
Gus.
Walt's obsession with Jesse is the reason that Walt does dumb things and loses his job, or at least, you know, he wants him to lose his job.
Yeah.
But Gustavo can't fire him because of Jesse. And Jesse ruins it all. And this is why I hate Jesse, because Jesse.
Well, no, Gustavo would have
No.
killed Walt if it wasn't for Jesse.
Yeah.
Your argument's falling apart in
No,
this season.
no, in the beginning,
Also, we're
in the beginning of season
we're in
3.
season 4 right now.
No,
That's-
3.
That's season. Oh, never mind.
The beginning of season 3, he loves Walt, but Walt wants Jesse to work with him. And Gustavo's like, hey, Jesse's a mess.
Let's get Gale.
And, oh, you have this other great, fantastic
Perfect man.
character. Gale is a perfect worker, and he's perfect for Walt. But for some reason, and this is Walt's fault, really, that he just cares about Jesse. Because I'm like, why? You know what I mean? How do you see and meet and work with Gale and then say, I like this, but this is better? Like, I don't understand it. I don't even blame Jesse for this.
Well, Gale, and similar to how how Gus is like the perfect version of Walter. I remember I told you this. I think Gale is the perfect vision of what Walt thought this would all be.
Mm-hmm.
How Gale just goes to work, and then you see his home life. He's still very happy. He makes the best coffee.
Mm-hmm.
He sings fun songs. He makes his tea. Like
I mean, it's probably the best coffee ever.
he lives his life
Tragic.
while also doing this and making a lot of money on the side, and doesn't really get into a lot of trouble. And that's what Walt thought he was going to be.
And this is like
But then Walt's ego drove him to be more
right,
along
and
the
you
other
know,
side.
and you know that this does not. This is a pure fiction. Like, this is a 9-to-5 safe, low risk way to make millions doing something illegal. You know what I mean? And it would have been perfect with Gale. Gale is the key to success, I think, in the workplace.
Gale's the key to success.
And Walt decides to bring in Jesse, and that's when things go downhill. It's all I'm saying is that when you replace Gale with Jesse, things go bad.
Whose choice was that, though?
It was Walt's. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And so I blame Walt just as much for having such a bad character come in and take Gale's place.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy as to where season 3 ends and season
Well,
4.
okay, so season 3
finale, yeah.
Well, season 3 has also a great scene where Hank gets attacked.
So cool. And then who provides you with paid sick leave pretty much without question? Oh, glory to Gustavo. That's who. Oh,
you said,
you
your
need
brother-in-law's in the
you need
hospital?
a week off.
No problem.
Oh, you need me to kill the people that attacked him?
Oh,
okay,
gotcha.
no problem. I got you. By the way, don't worry about it. I know we're running an important drug business, but you take your time. It's fine.
Yeah, we might not get our shipment out, but I get this is a hard time for you.
And then Walt's like, "Shut up, boss. I don't appreciate you." And I'm like,
Yeah, I agree.
"Yeah,
So
but no,
that's
but
what
no."
I was
Hank,
You have persuaded me in
Hank-
the sense of
Hank
like
is a
That's
badass.
what I'm saying, where I was getting so angry at Walt, where I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah.
this is a meth
Right.
kingpin that is like, yeah, bro, I get it. Family comes first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like in a real life scenario, that person would just, like, kill you. Like, or they would
Yeah.
say, no, I'm gonna.
No, but Gustavo
chain you
knows
up.
that mental health is
Yeah.
important for his workers.
Well, Gustavo's been
Find
through
a
trauma.
manager at McDonald's that does that. No.
No.
You'll never find a fast food manager like him.
Lord of those Pollos.
I would
Is
work.
this meth to your liking?
I think if I ended up working in Los Pollos, like in fast food, but if it was his chain, I would never leave. I think that would be my career for life because I know I have the best boss looking out for me.
You're right.
Oh my God.
I bet he pays like minimum $20 an hour too.
Probably.
Well, he makes
just
a
to
lot.
like screw over all his competitors. So
Yes.
They have no one to work
Yeah,
there.
and he's like, you need
Eat your food
you need to take the day off, Connor. That's fine, and you come in tomorrow. And you know
Explain
what?
yourself.
He runs a great business, and his milkshakes are good.
No, Gus is a villain because Walter's actions force him to become a villain in his eyes.
Right.
And
Therefore,
we're being,
Gus is the
And
hero.
we're being told the story through Walt's eyes. Because Walt does stupid things that then make Gus hate him, want to kill him. So now Walt's like, well, then I have to stop Gus. And then we're seeing it through Walt's lens, so we see
Walt-
Gus as the de facto villain. But he's not.
But Walt, this is your fault. I can't stand it.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Before we get to season 3 finale, because there's a lot I want to unpack in the season 3 finale, we also have the most divisive episode of Breaking Bad within season 3.
Oh, yeah.
Although I think all three of us are on the same page in the sense that
Yes.
we're on the side of we like it, and that's the episode with the fly.
Was it your brother that incorrectly said it was bad?
My brother hates this episode.
Yes, well, he's just wrong about that because The Fly is a great episode.
It's a fantastic episode.
It's a character building episode.
Thank you!
With fantastic
Well,
dialogue.
okay, so I told them, because I was keeping track with Colleen and Connor's progress throughout the entire show, and I said, when you get to the episode called Fly, let me know. And I said, why? I said, because it's a bottle episode, and it only features like 2 characters in the entire show, and they were both so excited because they thought that it was going to be a Skinny Pete and Badger episode.
I was so
And I felt so
upset.
bad.
yeah,
they're great
because
characters.
we haven't talked about them yet, and they're all-time favorites.
Oh God.
Skinny
So
Pete and
good.
Badger, every time they're on screen,
Good time.
I think we yell out like, "Oh!" like it's them.
Yo,
Like, and I
that
get
shit
so
is
excited.
choice, yo!
Especially Badger's lines; they're just so funny.
The thing is,
no,
they're
Badger's
also
pretty good.
talking about topics that, like, I fully feel that I could just sit down and chat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
I mean,
they
Skinny
talked
Pete
about,
and
like,
Badger talk
Dead
like
Before
it's
Daylight, I
Sean
think.
and Matt on EIF. Like it's just the same match.
And then Jesse's just suffering most of the time.
Yeah,
I
Jesse's
love-
just on the corner like, hey, what's going on, man? Jesse's
He's
like,
just, like, disassociating.
He's like, I'm just sad.
spiraling.
I'm gonna ruin Walt's life this
Bitch.
season.
bitch!
Oh, God.
But no, the Fly episode's great because it's just a nice little. It's like I call Fly the Breaking Bad halftime show because it's about halfway
Yeah.
through the show and it's just a nice little break. You get some nice character build. You get some nice monologues. It's a very simple plot. It's also
and you
funny.
you get an insight as well into Walt's, I feel like, psyche a little bit because
Yeah.
he is such a manipulator. But he was under the influence of drugs, so I don't think he's that peak of a manipulator because he didn't really know. You know what I mean? Like if he was aware he was being drugged, then maybe he could do something. But like he apologized for Jane at the time.
He's
He's
like,
like, "Oh,
"I'm
I'm
sorry about
sorry,"
Jane, yeah.
and Jesse's like, "Huh? Okay, like whatever." Like
Yeah.
he was like uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah, I love that episode. I think it's so great just in terms of what did this for those two because we haven't really had a lot of Walt and Jesse action this season because it's been
Yes.
the Gale and the Gus stuff and like this is like a pure Walt and Jesse episode again. It felt like season 1 in the
Right.
sense that they get into some wacky situation and they have to fix it and they don't know how and then there's
Yeah.
also some really cool dialogue throughout the
It
way.
builds the relationship. Like
Oh, yeah.
you can't skip the
It's
Fly.
also funny.
Yeah.
It's a funny episode. Like
and I think it's unskippable, which is
no,
important.
you can't skip it.
Because some
yeah.
people said, like you said that, like you could skip it and nothing will happen, but like it's not.
It's
like,
not that you could skip it and nothing. It's just like
It's not like the Great Divide in the
I
Last
feel like
Airbender.
no, it's not unrelated. It builds like an insight into all of their characters. A lot.
Exactly, but like in terms of the plot of season 3, it really is kind of just a detour to do this one other thing, and then it's back on track. That's
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion. Like, yes, it adds stuff, but it's not like it's a direct continuation of the plots that have been moving forward.
Yeah.
In my
I would
opinion.
say I feel like not that I think it's a bad season, but maybe season 3 is like my least.
Season 3 is
favorite.
probably the least eventful.
Yes,
However,
it's also
season
my
3
least favorite.
has a fantastic last 2 episodes.
I mean,
I
every season does.
that I now want to get into. Well, no, I really think these two are some of the best because you have. You don't think so? You can disagree.
I feel like I was supposed to feel really bad for Gale. I felt nothing.
Well, no, I didn't feel bad for Gail. I felt bad for Jesse.
I guess,
Oh, I
yeah.
never feel bad for Jesse.
I know you never do because you have a vendetta against Jesse.
That's the day I knew I hated Jesse because he killed the greatest coworker
He
in the
destroyed.
history of coworkers.
He destroyed the coffee industry
Yeah.
with one
He
bullet.
single-handedly took them
I mean,
down.
if Gale survived, we wouldn't have Starbucks today because you would have Gale's coffee instead.
You're so right.
I loved the ending of season 3 though, and it comes down to in the second to last episode, Walt saves Jesse and that's what we've been seeing all show long, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the finale, the tables turn and
Was
Jesse
that
has to
when
save Walt.
ran people over?
Yes.
Oh, that was cool.
But Jesse doesn't have to save Walt, and Jesse wouldn't have saved Walt, even though Walt just saved Jesse, unless Walt pulls off something mean. Because Jesse is not a good person. You think that because in that situation, Walt saves Jesse, and Jesse wants to go kill Walt.
No. He was going to kill the people
No.
that
He was gonna
killed
kill-
Brock's brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because that was
Dumb
that
stuff.
whole plot of
Yes.
he was going to try to poison them with the
No, I'm thinking of a different
burgers.
season.
He was going to try to poison them with the burgers, and then
Right.
Gus was like, "Hey, what the hell, man?"
Hey, simply please do not. Hey, look, it's not like, hey, Jesse, I'm going to kill you. Just like, Jesse, I sat
Hey,
you
bud.
down, we talked this out, let me handle this. And Jesse's like, bitch, like, I'm going to go do it anyway. And that's why I don't feel bad for Jesse.
I felt
I-
bad for Jesse though, because I personally believe that at the end of season 3, if when Walt ran over those guys, I thought Jesse was just staying in Albuquerque to just make sure that Walt would be okay and that everything, and then he would then go his own way and leave because they'd be out of business with Gus. But then when Jesse had to be roped right back into it because then Walt got in some shady business, and then he has to go kill Gale, I felt horrible for him. And
Yeah,
and
Jesse does get
and he's
ripped back in by Walt
and he's
a lot.
crying while he's holding the gun at Gale, and I'm just like, this poor guy is because at the beginning of the show he is at his lowest of lows because he's a drug dealer and he's working with shady people, and he gets his whole meth lab taken away. Even Walt says, "You have
he's
nothing."
not a murderer, yeah.
He's not a murderer yet, but like, you have nothing. And throughout the whole show, Jesse is just trying to better himself, and every single time he gets roped right back into it. And this, I think, was the turning point in terms of like, no, he just can't escape this ever, because he was really close, but he's too headstrong. He's too in his own head, and Walt is also in his head too much.
Right.
And I loved
Walt,
that
I
whole
feel
sequence.
Like, is
In
the
the end,
closest
none of
thing
it was
Jesse has
Gus's
to,
fault.
like a father figure.
Oh
like a
yeah,
parent.
absolutely. And that whole sequence where Walt goes to the laundromat and then they're threatening to kill him, but then he calls Jesse and is just like a last ditch effort, like, you got to do this right now. And then there's the tension of like, when they hear the knock on Gale's door, is it Victor trying to get Gale out of there, or is it Jesse and he's about to die? And it's Jesse. And poor Gale, man. Poor Gale.
No, yeah, that was a very good finale. It was very, like, on the edge of my seat.
Season 3, throughout the whole season, I'm like, this is good. It's not great, but it's good.
Oh,
and then
but
the
I was just
ending,
so
I was just like,
upset.
oh, yes.
I remember
Breaking
just
Bad.
being every episode being like, no.
Well, I also...
Gus is good.
Well, no, I also really liked Walt's arc in the second to last episode of season 3, because Mike gives him the whole speech about don't take any half measures, always just do what needs to be done, don't think
Oh,
twice.
Mike, you idiot.
And
Mike.
and I remember Walt has the whole conversation with Jesse and Gus in that little trailer where Gus is like, don't use any more children, keep the peace, we will go our separate ways, and just one of those things. But then Walt sees on the news that Brock's brother, Tomas, is now dead because of those guys, and I remember there's that shot. It's very reminiscent of The Godfather, in that scene where Michael Corleone is at the table and he's debating whether to kill the two people at the table with him, and it just zooms in on his face and all the sound drowns out. It does that same thing with Walt, where like he's at the dinner table and his face is just like so conflicted. He's like, what the hell do I do? And like all the sound drowns out, and then it just cuts him saying, I'm sorry, I have to go. And then 5 minutes later he runs over the two people, and it's just like, yes, Walt. Like, I love that arc. And also Mike's whole monologue is just I love Mike. Mike's a great character.
Mike is a great
I
character.
love Mike. And in season 4 we really get that, and also at the beginning, and also first half of season 5. But like this episode was like the first time where I'm like, no, Mike is like a legit player. I love Mike. He's awesome. I love these last 2 episodes. That's why I wanted to gush about them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I felt kind of bad for Jesse, but I was kind of like, I just didn't feel bad for Gale, because like I felt so viscerally shocked when the Jane thing happened, and then it was Gale, and I was like, yeah, you just got to do it, bro. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
I mean,
really like feel anything about it,
it's
which
very
was like
exciting.
I mean I liked Gale, but I was like, yeah, man, that's tough. But like I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And like Jesse was sad, but like it's probably not gonna.
And then at this point,
as much as Jane.
Skylar's found out, right?
Oh yeah, Skylar's in on it now because I think this season was the season where they're trying to determine whether or not they want to buy the car wash or the laser tag.
I thought that was season 4.
No, it's season 3.
Okay.
That's season 3 because I'm at the
and obviously you go with the laser tag.
Because remember at the end of season 3, Jesse's hiding in the laser tag place because Saul's still trying to get him to buy it.
Right.
Yeah, because they have a Danny.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, they have a Danny. So.
Also, one of my favorite Saul lines is in the season where he's like, "I once convinced a woman that I was Kevin Costner, and it worked because I believed it." Like, I just love Saul. he's just the best. What a great comic relief character.
Yeah,
so good. And then season 4 is my favorite season, if you're wondering.
Season 4's finale is really good.
That finale was the one spoiler I had going into the show, but I had no idea how you ended up there. But once I got to know Gus, I was really upset that I knew that spoiler because glory to Gustavo. And season 4 doesn't end well for the best boss in the world because in the end he was underappreciated.
Yeah.
He was he had hired workers that came into his business and ruined everything.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And for a moment there, I was just anti-Walt, anti-Jesse, anti-everyone but Gus.
Wow. Really?
Yep.
Just full on.
I was like, Gus, Mike, you guys are doing great, and I'm really sorry about what's happened. But in the end, I lost.
Big sad.
Yeah.
I love season 4, though. I think it is the most grand in scale that Breaking Bad gets, because season 5 is very much so personal. It's a very like
you're finally involved with the cartel.
But no,
and
season
with
4
Gus.
it's
and
like
we learn about Gus's a little bit of a peek into Gus's backstory.
Yeah,
Gus's backstory is so good,
so good. And I'm wondering if they talk more about that in Better Call Saul or if they expand.
Well, Gus
on
is
that.
in the show. I don't know how deep
because
they dive
I'm like,
into
do
it.
they do?
I
Because
really
we
need to
never
watch that
learned
shit.
about like Haiti. We never learned about that.
No, we never did. I don't know.
Well, that's
Gus's
what Far Cry
boyfriend.
6 is for.
I don't know what the extent is to which Gus is in Better Call Saul, but I know that like he's in it a lot. Mike is in it very, very much so.
We never learned more about Gus's boyfriend that got killed.
Yeah, because Colleen thinks Gus is gay. I think we all do.
I think he is.
I thought that was clear. I thought that I didn't think that was a fan theory.
Yeah.
I thought that was very clear.
Well, I feel like it was heavily implied, but I feel like
was
sometimes
never, like, explicitly
I
said.
think that it's implied, and then people are like, "No, what do you mean?" So like, I was just.
No, I
putting
thought the one mean
pulse
guy
out
made
there.
like a gay joke.
He did.
Yeah.
Because he was peeing in the pool, and then he said something
Right.
about like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah.
And then and Gus was like, but I didn't know if that was like a macho thing. You know what I mean? Like where
No.
it's like, oh,
No, that
you
was
could
definitely-
explain this away.
No, they're definitely gay. I mean,
You never see
you don't
any
get that
partner
upset
he has. He
over
says
your
he has
best friend, yeah.
kids. We never see his kids.
his children are his workers, and that's why he's the best boss.
Oh my lord!
Secretly,
Shoot
he's
me.
adopted Brock? Question mark.
Walt, my son.
But yeah, I think that it's pretty clear
Is your father to your life?
because I mean, I guess if my best friend got shot in front of me, I'd still be very upset. But I feel like Gus was like really bad.
Yeah, no, Gus was beside himself.
You know, so I don't know. That's just what I
Yeah,
think.
Gus was like, you know what? I'm about to become the
The
world's
Mexican
best
cartel
boss.
guy, though, also seemed nice. Not to be that guy. I know he killed Gus's best friend, but I'm like, he seemed kind of like a lit boss. He brought
Yeah.
the tequila out. He had all the models. I was like, this is lit.
I do want to mention the one scene that I think establishes Gus as like the true antagonist. I guess is like a great villain scene, the box cutter scene.
Oh,
That's like the only
oh,
time
that
that
was so cool. Again, what a great boss to come in and like and not yell at your employees, but simply show them like why you're the greatest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not
Why
like I'm
you
gonna
shouldn't
come
be
in.
that
I'm not gonna come in stressed out, right? He doesn't look stressed. He's just like, hey guys, like here's someone that didn't do their job right, and you're no longer part of this company. But like, I'm not gonna be mean to you. I'm just gonna slowly cut your throat with a box cutter. And not get it all over my clothes. Very professional. He stays
nice.
clean. No, I think it was an excellent showing of professionalism. Yeah,
I agree.
especially in this career,
Professionalism.
in this field.
Within his line of work,
Well, think of-
I do not think Gus
Yeah.
is anything close to a
Think
bad
of like
boss.
another kingpin
Well, no,
coming
he's not.
in.
It's just he's the antagonist of the show
I know.
because we're seeing it through
When
Walter.
I think of like drug kingpin, that's the antagonist. I think of like Tuco.
Well, yeah, that's why I think Gus is so loved, is because he's the exact opposite of what you expect in a show like this.
But if
Because
I feel like if
you
were gonna
expect
suc-
Tuco to be like the main villain of the show. Or
If
something.
you're gonna succeed though, like at Gus's level, you have to be like Gus. Like
Oh, yeah.
you do have to be like
That's why in
You
season
can't be
5,
too
when Walt is finally like in
When
charge,
Walt thinks he can do it.
he like tries to be Gus, and like he adopts a lot of Gus's like
But
little
he's simply
mannerisms.
not the world's greatest boss.
Well, no, exactly.
Unfortunately.
So Gus is what Gale is what Walt wanted to be at the beginning, and then Gus is what wanted to be by the end.
Walt
Say
is
that
Walt
five
is
times fast.
That's very, very hard
Walt
to
is
say.
Will
What
Ferrell
wanted
coming
to be.
in to
What wanted
replace Michael Scott. Like you can't replace Michael Scott.
True.
Fun
Michael
fact, by the
Scott
way,
was
I have
good.
Not
a
even by the Lizard King.
fun fact. I have a fantasy football team. The team name is Glory to Los Pollos, and my profile picture is Gus holding the world's best boss mug. And every time I beat somebody, I send them a picture of Gus saying, "Is your loss to your liking?" It's a very,
So I
it's
root
a
for
very
Matt
fun
every
time.
week.
It's a good time. Connor actually beat me in week 2. It was not fun.
Yeah, so we didn't.
I did
It
not-
was to my liking. But
My loss was to your liking. But anyway, back to season 4. The last few episodes of season 4 are just
So good.
music to my ears.
yeah,
I
the
really
origins
like
of
those.
Two-Face in the DC universe.
Literally.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, also throughout this season, we have the whole Ted Beneke thing going on.
Ted Beneke's
Oh
just,
yeah, that
he's
plot
just
was
a-
kind of
He's
dumb.
just a silly little guy.
He's just,
They try to give Skylar her own work to do, and I'm like, I didn't need that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's like when you're playing the Spider-Man PS4 games, you do like all the MJ
Oh my
missions.
god, I plays MJ. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was like. It was
Yeah,
like,
it was like, I
Skylar
don't
is
care.
becoming cooler. Hashtag girl
Has
boss.
more relevance to the plot, but like, is her relevance? The
But like
plot we
her
wanna see?
plot
The only
with
thing
Ted Beneke, I was like, I was like whenever the scene
I thought
ended,
it
I
was
was like,
I thought it was very girl boss of her to do it the
I'm
first
never,
time.
I'm
I
never
was like,
clicking
go
the
off.
next, I'm never
Yeah.
clicking the next
Go
episode
off.
to be like, oh, what happens to Ted Beneke? I'm like, I'm never excited.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that the first time that she did it, I was like, power move. And that scene where she told Walt, and I was like, oh my god, the drama.
Good for
I
Skylar.
loved that. I was like,
Yeah.
good for Skylar. As you should, honestly. Walt's
Yeah.
been wild to know.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
as you should. I didn't need her to pursue a relationship with him, though. But at the same time, that was kind of Ted's fault. Skylar wasn't really trying to have strings. She made that kind of clear.
Now, if only they were smarter in season 3 and Skylar just married Gustavo, she would have lived
Very
happily
true.
ever after.
But he's gay.
Yes,
Fair.
but he would have done it for his employees.
Oh my lord!
Gustavo is such a good boss.
You're just never going to like waver from this point, are you?
I only
I
came
think
here
that
to talk about Gustavo.
Here's what I'm saying.
You
I
were
think-
so upset when he was not in the show anymore, too.
When he died, I was like, oh, I knew this was going to happen, and I'm like, what now? Like, what can you do now?
I was
Well,
so
no, that
happy.
was what I was saying when I watched the show too, because I'm just like, okay, Gus is dead.
Uh-huh.
Now what? Like, I honestly would not have been upset if the show ended right there.
And then I thought it was gonna the next season, like the Lord of Light was gonna come, and maybe he
Lord
would
of
wake
Light.
up. But
And then he was gonna be the Azor's Eye, and then scream at a dragon, while his sister then kills the Night King.
stop.
Please.
This is we haven't done a Game of Thrones episode yet.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
coming. In
separate.
fact, Sean and I are considering doing a Game of Thrones episode, but only talking about the last season because I think we just have way too much to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much. But like, anyway, back to this.
But the opposite of horrible last season would be Breaking Bad's last season.
Well, yeah, but we're not done with season 4 yet. We gotta talk about.
we're
We're gonna
not?
talk about one thing about season 4 that I really want to get to.
What did we miss?
The whole thing with Brock.
Ugh, stupid
Yeah,
Jesse.
Brock's cool.
Bro, Brock's fine. Literally get over it.
Brock's built differently.
What do you
He
mean?
will never.
Well, Brock
be
will
sad.
never die. No.
Brock is
No.
fine.
He'll
But,
never
but
die,
no,
he'll
but
never be sad.
that was the moment where I then started to be like, okay, Walt, because I agree, I wasn't as in love with Gus as you are, but I definitely, when Gus died, I'm like, man, he was such a great character, like, and like, yeah, he was a villain, but like, he was kind of just doing what was best for him, and like, I understood where he was coming from. So
Yeah.
when he died, I'm like, ah, man. And then when Walt's left, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, Walt won, cool. But then when they show at the end of the season that he poisoned the kid and not Gus, and then he tried to, like, he did, like, a weird, like, double switch with Jesse, I was like, man, I don't know if I'm on Walt's side anymore.
For me, that's when I started to feel bad for Jesse.
Yeah.
Like, because killing Gale, I was kind of like, you gotta do it.
Well, no, the scene where
but-
Jesse finds out that it might be the ricin, and he runs into the hospital, and it's like that
Yeah.
frantic, like,
No,
editing
I
of
mean,
one second. I'm like,
I feel
holy
like
shit.
Once Walt
Like-
really got the claws of, like, fully messing with Jesse's mind, like, that is when I felt bad for Jesse.
And one of my favorite scenes is when Jesse goes to Walt's house and confronts him about it. The acting by those two and the dialogue is just fantastic. It's such good stuff, that whole arc. And then at the end, that's when I then started to turn on Walt in the sense of like, man, that's kind of fucked up. Like, he'd done a lot of fucked up things before. Like, obviously, like, killing Jane is really bad.
And season 4 was I Am the Danger as well, right?
Well, yeah, I Am the One Who Knocks. Yeah, exactly.
This
What a
season,
good scene. This is when Walt starts to get really cocky. And this last thing that he does, like, he's like, okay, I gotta get out of this. Let's just, poison a young child to turn my once friend, now enemy, back to my friend because he's gonna think that my enemy poisoned him, whereas I did, and I'm gonna try to convince him that it's a very convoluted plot, but it worked. And I'm just like, man, all right. Guess the season's over.
Also, that Wheelchair King got to kill Gustavo.
Hector, yes, we haven't heard about Hector yet.
Yeah, I never liked Hector, but Sir Ding Dong really did his job well.
Sir Ding Dong.
I think it was a really cool moment.
Sir Ding Dong.
Even though I obviously like.
His little we never even talked about his mute nephews, the twins.
Oh, that was
the fight scene. Yeah,
but
they're scary as shit.
They spooked me. I sure didn't like them.
They're in Better Call Saul as well.
I think they are, yeah. Mostly every character not named like Walt, Jesse, and like Skyler and like Hank and all them, they're in the show in some capacity because like it takes place before. It's how Saul became Saul because his real name isn't Saul Goodman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like Irish, which is funny.
Yeah. Because Saul Goodman, most people don't realize it's a pun. Saul Goodman, like it's like that whole like, Saul Goodman, like it's Saul Goodman, that's his name. So that's what that show's about. I have not watched it.
Now, Saul's bodyguard is one of my favorite characters.
Oh, Huel?
Yeah.
Yeah, love Huel.
As long as Huel's happy, I'm happy.
Huel, are you happy? Reasonably. It's just that he's just so good.
No, his secretary also.
Again, I've been talking to Matt about creating the world's best business, and I think Huel should be a part of that team.
He'll be like
Huel
he'll be the muscle.
Huel got manipulated immediately.
That is true at the end, yeah.
Okay, Huel has weaknesses, but he has strengths.
Because you said what? It'd be like Gus and like Skinny Pete, Gale.
No, Gus and Gale, and we're gonna get to Todd.
Oh, Todd.
My other favorite character in the show.
Fucking sociopath.
And Mike, I think Mike is really good.
Oh, Mike's just such a good character.
And I think that like those people as the Avengers of the Breaking Bad cinematic universe would simply be unstoppable.
Yeah. But then we get into season 5, and honestly, I didn't know where the show was going.
The season of Todd himself.
And season 5 starts with probably the most. If you didn't think you didn't know where season 5 was going already, the first scene of season 5 is just a complete not what you were expecting. Because another thing I want to bring out the show is its use of the cold open. Yeah. Because the way the show always starts, there's always usually a scene before the main title cards come up, which I gladly sang for you all at the beginning of this episode. And usually,
was you? I thought that was the real thing.
No, it was me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are you a music major?
Yeah. Wow. Oh. I'm a scatter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm a scat. Anywho, no. But season 5 starts. You're expecting it to be like, oh, what's the fallout of the whole thing with Gus? And you get a flash forward to Walt's like 52nd
Walt
birthday.
Has hair.
Walt has hair and a beard, and he's from New Hampshire now, and he goes by a different name, and he's buying a shotgun. And that's all you get.
His other pair of glasses, so ugly.
Yeah, but no, you're watching it because I remember I watched that with you guys, and you're just like, "What is happening?" Like it was just like, and that's how I felt. It was just like, this is not what I expected, and the show constantly does this. It constantly like the scene where another good example where Walt runs over those guys. The very next episode, in season 3, there's a flashback to when they first bought the house. Mm-hmm. And that was another great cold open. Toward the end of the show, when they show the real flashback to like their first cook, as opposed to showing the fallout of the shootout, which we'll get to. I love the show's use of cold opens because it shows you stuff you don't think is necessary, but then it comes up into play later. And another episode in season 5 where it does that is the train robbery episode, where the cold open, they show the boy on the motorbike find the spider, and you don't see this young boy anymore until literally the last 20 seconds of the episode where then Todd kills him.
Todd was right.
Oh my god.
That's what
I had lost perhaps my favorite character in the show at the end of season 4, and I said, my heart feels empty. How could it be filled?
Who could fill my heart?
And the writers of Breaking Bad season 5 said, I'll do you one. I can't say I'll do you one better, because I think they're equally as good. But Todd shows up. And Todd...
Perfect man.
I'd die for Todd, and I think Todd would die for me. And I think that's why I love Todd.
Yeah.
Todd isn't like Gustavo. He's not the smarty pulling the strings.
No, not at all.
But he's the man you can rely on pulling the strings for.
He's a sociopath!
He's gonna do what he has to do!
He's not a sociopath. He's a nice guy.
Oh my god, he's not a nice guy.
Like, I would hire him for my neighborhood watch.
A romantic snow globe.
He did get Jesse ice cream, so I will give him that.
And pizza?
And he sang in the car with him.
Literally, like Todd is the best. What? I'm just saying, I'm skipping ahead slightly. If I were kidnapped and Todd had me chained up in a hole in the ground,
I'd be a little...
It would take me maybe 2 hours to develop Stockholm Syndrome fully.
I would develop love, I think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would fall in love with him.
True love,
I'd be like,
yes.
wow, you're the
For
best.
Beauty and the Beast, it's now Colleen and the Todd.
Yes, very much so. Here's the thing.
Well, I did notice Todd's formal attire is exactly what I wear to student teach. So,
Also, it kind of sucks because Todd's extended family is a bunch of Nazis. That sucks.
yes. And Todd is a nice guy.
But
So-
Todd doesn't have any swastika tattoos and said
No.
nothing racist.
Todd
the whole time.
is a
So I was like,
progressive.
huh?
Oh my god.
He's-
So listen, all I'm saying is that Todd has never said anything that made me raise an eyebrow.
Todd
He
kept
just is
Jesse
related
alive.
To very
Todd, to
problematic
me,
people.
just scares the living daylights out of me because he is a sociopath.
Todd kept
He has-
Jesse alive.
He has no, like,
He gave him a
feelings or
cigarette.
remorse for doing awful things.
Which makes him the best.
Okay,
if
imagine
Gustavo and Todd ever knew each other, the world
Perfect
could be
combo.
conquered
Todd,
in 7 days.
Todd does the most horrible things and thinks nothing of it. And that's
Gustavo
horrifying
would
to
have
me.
loved
But I'm
that.
saying, like, imagine you are working as a criminal, right?
Well, yeah,
Who
but,
do
like,
I
I'm not a
wanna
criminal.
hire? Who do I want to hire?
Do I want Jesse to go,
Todd.
I'm sad about killing Gail? No, I want Todd that's like,
I
a
want-
kid?
Okay, so
Bang!
So
Without
favorite.
thinking
Okay,
about
so
it.
yeah, not favorite character, but like, you know, who do you want to be in a business with? Okay,
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
Todd
Gustavo
immediately.
and Todd.
Oh my God.
Even Mike would be like, oh, a kid. You know what I mean? No.
No hesitation.
Well, no, Mike was one of my favorite characters, and I think that's what you're alluding to in terms of when you want to stop watching the shows when Walt killed Mike.
I was very upset when Walt.
I
killed
was
Mike.
too because that
Oh,
was
Because
what a
Walt
great
was
scene,
being-
though.
no, but
it was a
Walt-
great scene, but like
Around that
shit.
time, Walt was being insufferable. Like I couldn't even.
No,
watch
I gave
Walt.
up on Walt at this point, and I became a Todd stan. I wasn't.
Oh my
It
God.
wasn't. It wasn't
Todd.
about Walt anymore.
Well,
Who
yeah,
gives
here's the
a
thing.
fuck about
Here's
Todd?
the thing. Whenever, because I do like Jesse.
He looks like fucking Matt Damon. Like it's,
as he should.
it's just like
But listen,
no. Get
listen,
outta
listen,
here.
listen. I had no fucking clue why Jesse was so upset that Todd killed this kid. This kid's a witness. I'd kill his
He's
ass.
a kid.
I'd kill him too in his tarantula. I'd kill a tarantula
Yo, when
too.
Todd killed that kid, I was
I'd
like,
shoot
yeah,
right in the
yeah, kill that kid.
By the way, that train robbery was
That was an
so well
awesome
filmed.
scene.
Meanwhile,
I love
Jesse's like, oh, Brock, you killed Brock. No, you think Todd would have cried about you killing? Todd would have been like, good move, sir. Like, if I'm
Literally.
playing Todd in chess and I take
Well,
his
like-
queen, he'd be like,
But I'm
nice.
saying I'm Walter, right? I'm Walter White. And I have all these goons. And then this small child rolls up. I mean, I wouldn't be that angry if Todd killed the kid. I don't know if we needed to do
If I'm
that.
1v1ing Jesse
But, like-
and COD, Jesse ends up throwing a fit and crying. If I 1v1 and beat Todd in Call of Duty, Todd says GG. Like, that's the difference between
Yeah,
Todd
you're
and
right.
Jesse, I think.
You're so right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Todd, it's just like, if I were a criminal, I need somebody like Todd to do what he has to do.
I like
Whereas-
how in order to like Todd, you have to look at it from the eyes of a criminal.
If I'm a horrible shitbag, Todd is a perfect person.
Listen, here's the thing, but Todd is also... Todd is simultaneously very likable while being very horrible.
Again, a great character.
Fabulous
I
character.
mean, I'm not saying he's
He
not
is
a bad
little
character.
weird.
I just
He is
think
a little
he
weird,
just
but,
always skews me out. But no, the end of
he
season
does,
5.
he has creepy vibes a little bit. The
Yeah.
pastels. I'm jumping to El Camino when we talk more about Todd. But like the pastel Easter apartment is a bit of a red flag. So like he definitely would have Stockholm syndromed me, and then I would have walked into his apartment. Another series of red flags would have gone off. He would have had to then convince me.
Yeah.
But like the kid, I don't really blame him for. I think that in El Camino, talking about Todd, him killing his cleaning lady was an overreaction. That I think they did very
I thought it
blatantly
was
to
hilarious.
show that like.
I thought that it was just a funny prank at that point.
No, but I'm just saying.
He was like, oh, he was really good at her
like
job.
that at that point, I was like, okay, you didn't have to do that. But the kid, I literally do not blame him for. Like, sorry.
But anyway, the main plot of season 5 was not Todd. It was the fall of Walter White.
Well, the first half of season 5 is
Right,
the
it's really
rise,
2 seasons. Yeah.
Because at the end of season 5, he says, "I'm out."
And here's the
He
thing about
just- he
season
just
5.
leaves.
I think the season 5 ends well, but how we get there, to me, like looking back on it already,
You're talking about the middle of season 5 or the end of season
all of season 5 I think felt forced.
Really?
Well, it's like there's so many lucky things that have to happen.
Yeah.
Like you're a fumigator, which I thought was a
And all
cool
I've heard is that,
idea.
like, this season, and, like, you know, I love Lost, right? And some people didn't like the ending of Lost.
Was the giant magnet in this scene, or which season
magnet.
was that?
So
like, the magnet felt a little bit like a stretch. I liked it, because I do like it to be a little bit wacky. And I can extend my disbelief a little bit. But, like, it wasn't as real feeling as season 1 and 2.
Well, and I see some betrayal of, like, the way I was seeing things is, like, betrayal of character with some of these people. So when we get to Hank, obviously, yes, we've seen evidence that Hank would be obsessed with finding and cracking down this person. But, like, Hank's obsession with getting Walt to the point of getting yourself killed is, like, a lot for me to take in.
No, I think that was because it was Walt that he started to spiral that hard, because he'd been deceived.
But the most confusing part was Walt not willing to kill Hank.
That felt a little odd.
If Walt's willing to kill Jesse, which Walt's ruined his life saving Jesse before, but he's okay with now killing Jesse but not Hank. I'm like, this is forced.
I feel like it was a logical thing where he's like, oh, I'll never let family get hurt.
Yeah, I think that's...
But at that point, I think he'd seen Jesse as more of a son than Hank Jr.
Well, personally, I think that he was still in his head
Hank
about,
Jr.?
I'm doing this for my family, because even in the very next episode, he still says, like, everything I do for my family. So...
He's still living in the lie.
He's still living in the lie. So when he's like, I won't kill Hank, I don't think it's that. I think it's because he doesn't want his family, as in Walter Jr., Skyler,
to be affected,
maybe not Marie, to then turn on him because of this. Because if Walt killed Hank, which they think he did, they then now are against him completely.
But if he had done it earlier, right?
I actually never was. I was never a big, like...
I have to say, I loved the scene when Hank figured it out. I loved when Hank figured it out.
No,
that was a great scene.
And especially and then also the scene where then they confront each other in the garage.
That was
Hank
really cool.
punches him. You know, tread lightly. That's such a good scene. And I was not expecting that scene to happen that quickly into the season.
Yeah.
Because I expected the whole back half of season 5 to be like, Hank trying to figure it out, piece of pieces together, and then he figures out Walt's Heisenberg at the end, and then they have this big showdown. No. The first episode, they confront each other. And I'm like, okay, wow, that's something. Wow. But no, I see. That's interesting though. You think it's forced though?
When I was watching season 5, I was like, I know where it's going to end up.
Because of the flash forwards.
And then when you get to the finale itself, I mean, what he pulls off with his old friends from the company, and like them being that smart and just like falling for that, and like it was like very much this had to happen.
Are we jumping to season 6 now?
Well, season 5.
Season 6 doesn't exist, but like
the back half of season 5.
The very end of season 5.
Okay.
I'm just like things that happen throughout the season.
I feel like I was making connections that weren't there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, but also one of my favorite, since I was such a big fan of the whole, not a big fan, but like the whole Brock getting poisoned thing, I thought was like a really compelling.
Big fan of Brock.
Big fan of that. What a great move. No, I loved the scene where Jesse figured it out. And then he ran
that was great. I knew immediately, and Connor was confused, which I felt like I had a huge brain when that happened. But
big
brain! I was like, big brain. But I was like, oh, he just figured it out, because he pulled out, was it a phone?
It was the cigarettes, and he
and
figured
he realized
out that
Huel took the phone from him.
Son of a bitch.
I loved that scene.
God, I love
Connor
Huel.
was like, huh?
That
was like, oh, he figured it out.
Aaron Paul's best acting moment.
That was really cool.
He's so good in the show. The acting also in the show.
Well, Aaron Paul becomes Reek in this season.
Reek. No, at the end of throughout this whole show, there's not any, because in a lot of shows there are sometimes some actors or actresses that are sometimes maybe like phoning it in or like not doing great. Like the one example that my parents and my brother always point out is, have you ever seen the show 24?
No.
The actress who plays Jack Bauer's daughter is apparently like the worst thing that ever happened to that show, and like it sometimes bogs it down.
You don't really have bad.
There's no bad acting performances. There's some characters like Marie.
Which baffles me.
Marie sometimes you don't like, but the actress is doing such a great job.
It baffles me because I don't see any of these actors in anything else
Except for Bryan Cranston.
Well, except and Jesse, like
But even Jesse, he's playing Jesse in like everything.
and Gus, of course, because Gus deserves it because he's.
Well, yeah, because now he's Moff
He's the
Gideon.
best
in,
boss ever.
he's Moff Gideon. in
Well, and I
Mandalorian.
actually, the first time I ever saw that actor, he was in Revolution, which was a canceled
and
show.
Bob
that I
Odenkirk,
liked.
I'm interested to see what Bob Odenkirk does after Better Call Saul, because he's still technically playing that character. Same thing with the actor who plays Mike. He's still technically playing Mike.
Right.
His name is Jonathan Banks. But like Skylar, never see her in anything.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Hank in like every single movie now, he just plays a cop.
Yeah.
Or like a dad, like like that, like hard-edged dad or whatever. Like he's very much so typecast now. I agree. A lot of these actors kind of just. In fact, one of the actors that is getting a lot of work now is the actor that played Todd.
Yes.
Because Jesse Plemons has been in a lot of stuff now, and it's kind of funny.
Oh no!
Now I see that Connor has pulled
Please
up.
play it. Oh, it's
Connor
so
has
good.
pulled up a video.
I could play it for the audience,
Please.
but I did show Colleen this video. The actor for Hank
Has a cameo.
does have a cameo in the show. I thought this was going to be important.
I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. Almost like we have an imposter among us. I saw that you wanted. Don't lie to me, Walt. Sussy baka. Hey, author Don William.
So the actor for Hank Schrader did that, and I thought that was important to share because
Sussy
really in season 5 that is what Hank was meaning to say when he found out. Imagine that in the garage.
Walt,
scene.
you've been pretty sus lately.
Don't you backsass me, you sussy baka!
Oh no. It's so good. But yeah, I think that Marie, I don't like a quick side tangent to some of the main characters. Skylar, I liked more when she like got past the like I'm holier than thou, like I can't believe you would do it, make meth, and like I'm not gonna help you, and then she just finally like helped him. You know what I mean? Like I was like, okay, fine, like we're good.
Now you're cool.
Marie, it's so like she really harnessed that character. The actress really, really knew. She must have known the source material. Like she must know somebody like that. Because I remember when she was like, Walter Jr. on the pot. And I was like, oh my lord. I just remember watching that like, oh my god.
That's so good.
And then later, her at the open houses, just lying about what her life was.
Yep.
Just like, very interesting.
Iconic.
Very iconic. So like, I did at the end of the show, and like at the end of the show, I think I have a reasonable like enjoyment for both of their characters. I mean, I do feel bad for Marie.
Yeah.
That Hank got, because I do think she does care about Hank. I think
Well, yeah,
Marie
that-
and
that-
Hank
the
had a good
whole-
relationship, honestly.
The whole Hank dying thing,
Because there was some strain there, but
Yeah.
like they got through it.
Well, I loved the last 20 minutes or so of the episode with the shootout, like building up to it, where Walt goes to the desert and he thinks the money is buried there and they found it, and then they catch him. Mm-hmm. As soon as Hank calls Marie and has that like "I love you" phone call,
Oh no, you know it's over.
I was like, oh no,
oh
this
dang
is
it.
horrible.
Whenever
I kind
it's
of
like,
knew
guys,
though.
I won.
I kind of knew though that Hank wasn't gonna make it out. As soon as he started to like really figure this shit out, and because you already knew that Walt made it out of this alive because of the flash forward, I'm like, I really don't think Hank's gonna make it out of this season.
No.
And I was right, but it still didn't make it any less sad, because man, that was depressing to watch Hank get outed in the middle of the desert, unceremoniously too.
I know, yeah. And wasn't it like mid-sentence?
It was mid-sentence, yeah, which I liked how then Walt, when he kills Uncle Jack, kills him mid-sentence.
Yeah, I think Uncle Jack deserved
That lack
it.
of respect.
Uncle Jack's a Nazi bastard.
And Todd
Yes,
gets...
but Uncle Jack really did something great for the universe, and that was raise Todd.
Yeah, that's his best contribution.
Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Oh my
I
god.
said-
Oh my god!
Todd is the shining star. Uncle Jack is a Nazi bastard.
Yes,
So.
yeah.
But no, the episode that I'm referring, the Ozymandias episode, the third to last episode, I view that episode as the series is like true like climax of like where we've all been heading to, and it really comes to a head with that phone call scene, which I think is just so well executed in the sense that Walt is like, it's the only scene where Walt is pretending to be this egotistical Heisenberg-esque character. because you can see he's like crying while he's saying all these things, and he's only doing it to try to get his family out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And even that doesn't that doesn't even work, which is really upsetting. I love that whole episode. That episode actually has a perfect 10 out of 10 rating on IMDb, if you're wondering. Kind of nuts, actually. But yeah, that episode's great. And then the last 2 episodes are kind of just like the epilogue.
I don't know though. Like I found them very, very satisfying. Like I loved I liked that Skylar. Also, I love that she's just like stone cold by the end of the show. I kind of love that, especially
Dead inside.
Well, yeah, because she's just been through so much.
No,
She's
but
just
like I kind
what more
of
could she
love
go
that it's
through?
like, yeah, you can't faze me at this point. Like I do kind of love that. And when she was like on the phone with Marie, and Marie's like, Walt's in town, like you gotta get out of here, girl. And she's like, okay, sis. And Walt's just in the room.
That shot's so good, though.
So good when they just pan over and he's standing there.
Oh, it's beautiful. I think the number one thing that I got out of the finale that I really thought that they were going to drop the ball on was not giving me one last scene of Skinny Pete and Badger. We got it,
Oh my
right?
god, that was so good.
I love the scene with him and Gretchen and Elliot. In
Yes.
the house.
See,
Well,
I
all of
hated that. I thought
No,
that
I
that
love
was
that.
how do you fall?
Because
like how
they're
how do you?
ignorant rich people. They
I
don't
guess
understand.
it was just
They're like, oh my god, he's
like
so
yeah, you could have done that
dangerous."
so much sooner. And
They're
I'm like,
book smart, but they're not like wise. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess it
they're
was just
silly.
like a long shot. And it worked, and that's at least I told Matt like I would be really upset if his kids didn't end up with the money. I like that it was a sad ending for Walt, but at least he was able to do that for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was super happy with the finale, and then I love the final shot with Walt on the ground. And can we talk about one last thing that we haven't touched on because of the last shot as well? Is how this show probably better than any show I've seen uses music so well.
Very well.
So good.
I mean, it's the last scene too, and it's other than again where I place it near. I think The Leftovers uses music very well, but I think this is on that level where it's like the music choices aren't random fun pop songs that you see in like modern Marvel movies where they're just like, here's a fun 80s song.
Yeah.
It's like the music is telling you something about the story
Yeah.
oftentimes.
I like this. I like the scene where he's rolling the barrel through the desert, and there's that song playing where it's like summarizes the plot of the thing. Also, the score is great too.
Yeah.
The theme song. My favorite musical moment is I love the music that plays while Gus is walking into the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And then season 4 is such a great musical moment.
I just love like when they cook too, and there's like just a fun. They use
Yeah.
montages really well.
yes,
Yeah.
montages.
It's
Yeah.
like
They use a
it
lot of
makes cooking
creative
meth look
shots,
fun. Like I was just like, God, I want to go make
well,
some meth.
fun
Like, this
fact:
is-
Bryan Cranston actually had to learn the actual formula. He knows how to make meth.
That's
Bryan
nice.
Cranston.
What the hell?
You could make more doing that. Than
Aaron
being an
Paul
actor.
does not. Skinny Pete and Badger, the actors, the only one they actually told how to make it because like
How do
he
the
was.
directors know?
All I know is that
Sucks.
somewhere I read that Bryan Cranston, while filming Breaking Bad, actually learned the formula.
Nice.
That's really
So
funny.
I find that kind of funny.
But yeah, I love Skinny Pete and Badger. I've also said that I think that I could fix Badger. I think I could change him.
I don't
Because,
think
like,
Badger
I
needs
think-
to be fixed.
No, but like I'm saying, like in terms of, I think that if Badger had a girlfriend that was like really intense about not wanting him to be on drugs, I think that he could get clean and like.
You know who's already perfect that doesn't need fixed?
Todd.
Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you,
I
Matt.
knew you would say that.
Thank you, Matt.
I disagree, but whatever. No, but something I like about the last few episodes, there was one thing I think they dropped the ball on, and that was Jesse. But I'm happy that they gave him El Camino.
Yeah, I was like, wow, they did nothing for Jesse, but then I forgot there's a 2-hour movie,
But-
which is really good.
And I honestly, when they first
I like
announced,
Jesse's finale more. Like,
when they
it was-
first announced that they were making the El Camino movie, I'm like, really? Like, I thought the ending was so good. And I was like, no, really? Jesse didn't really have a true finale.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about these last 2 episodes in particular is that Walt really does have very pivotal dialogue scenes with every main character.
Yes.
That ties up everything.
Every loose end is tied up, yeah.
Him with Saul in the bunker at the vacuum cleaner place. Such a good scene where they're fighting and they're talking like, it's over. Like, there's nothing more we can do. And Saul's just like giving up. The scene where he talks on the phone with Walter Jr. trying to get in the money, and then Walter Jr. just explodes on him. My favorite one when he's with Skylar. And he finally admits that
I know,
he was
I
doing
gonna
it
bring
for
that up.
him.
I love that they had him say that.
And
I
they
love
waited
that.
until literally the last possible second.
And I
There is
to
a
make it
loose
so
end though.
satisfying.
He never apologized to the car wash man because
Bob
I
Dylan.
assume that the car wash went under.
Yeah, probably.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
I like that they really tied up everything, and
But
then the
that's
whole
like the
Lydia
best thing
thing.
he could have given to Skylar too. Honestly, like that's the best thing he could
Oh
have.
yeah, And he
given
also
her.
gave her the coordinates so that we can find Hank and Gomi and she can get herself
Yeah.
out of it. She could trade that with a deal with the DEA and
Yeah.
buy herself out of the whole thing. And
It's a happy ending for everyone but Walt.
I wouldn't say it's not a... I think Walt...
I mean, that's the happiest ending that Walt could have had.
I don't... Yeah, exactly. I think
Right.
it's not a...
He's able to save Jesse, and he's able.
I mean, he
to
really
die.
did what he said.
Saves
to do.
Jesse, he gets the money back, he kills Jack, Todd, all of the guys.
And he doesn't die of cancer.
And, yeah, and he also kills Lydia with the ricin.
Oh,
which is the
Stevia Queen.
which is
I
the
hate
fir-
her.
which is
She's
the
actually
first-
my least favorite character.
I hate Lydia, but
She's
that is
so
the
annoying.
first time. Similarly to how we waited for the whole him admitting it to the last second. The whole idea of ricin has been in our heads since literally the beginning of season 2 when they almost tried to kill Tuco with it.
Yeah.
No one had been successfully poisoned with the ricin for the whole show.
Yeah, because Brock is unkillable.
And then Lydia is finally the one to do it. And literally the last spoken line of the show is "Goodbye, Lydia." And he finally hangs up the phone, and then everything after that is... And then also, the scene with Jesse, too, where he gives the gun to Jesse. He's like, "Kill me. Do it."
Reek?
And then Jesse's like, "I'm not going to do it unless you say you want this." And he said, "I want this." And he's like, "Then do it yourself." Like, he's done doing stuff for Walt, and I like that.
Tricked ya.
He doesn't want
Gotcha,
to...
nerd.
It's
Yeah, and again,
it's
like,
such a good-
I didn't care about Jesse in this season very much either. 'Cause
Not even when Andrea died?
He became Reek. Yeah, I was just like, okay, this is just funny at this
I
point.
felt bad, but that was kind of his fault.
I mean, it was kind of his fault, but
Yeah,
like... He
so-
did-
Listen, Todd didn't want to do it.
But then if we could talk about El Camino, because in El Camino, I finally like Jesse.
took
I
you long enough,
Look at
I
that.
finally liked Jesse, and I
Bitch.
think it was all because of Todd. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, fuck you.
It was all due to Todd's
No,
influence.
Jesse had his arc finally where he wasn't just a problem, where he changed in
Yeah.
El Camino like that,
Yeah.
and he had a happy ending, I think.
Oh my god.
You're my hero, bro.
Yeah, no, that not
Oh my
only
God,
did they
I
give us
almost cried.
more,
The
yeah,
thing is,
Skinny Pete
I
Badger.
at no time in the movie was gonna cry.
You're like
except
my
for
hero,
when,
bro.
Except for when Skinny, and the thing is, Skinny Pete was always there. I always enjoyed Skinny Pete, but for some reason, like that scene in particular, because I always thought like Badger and Skinny Pete were like a duo, but I kind of always was like, oh, Badger's kind of funny and whatever. But Skinny Pete in El Camino, when he said, "You're like my hero, bro," I almost cried. I was like, oh my
Almost.
god. Well, I like teared up, but I didn't like tears didn't fall or anything. They were sucked back into my eyeballs because I'm a real man. But yeah, no. I mean, Skinny Pete and Badger are fantastic side characters, and the snipers on the roof moment was so good. Yeah, no, I think that they were great.
The only time I cried was when Todd was killed by Jesse, because I mean, you kill a man that takes you out to get pizza. I don't understand it, especially after I found out that happened, and I was
I
like,
know, right?
how do you do that?
I did think and eventually I figured, I agree that, because Todd was like, oh, I'll take her out at his housekeeper lady that he killed for trying to show
It was
him.
a random
Oh,
side
I
plot in
found-
El Camino, but I loved it.
It was really
like
funny.
the flashbacks with
It was
with
really
Todd.
funny. It was really, really funny. I liked
No,
it. How they
El Camino-
And
Todd
Todd
really
like
good.
looked 10 years
dropped-
older too. It was so
They
funny.
dropped
And about
her
50 pounds
body.
heavier.
Yeah, they dropped her body out of the balcony. I was crying laughing. That
El
was so
Camino was
funny.
really well done. I was very impressed with it.
And then he was like,
Go,
I'm gonna
Jesse.
bring
I was
her- I'm
rooting
gonna
for
bring her
Jesse,
somewhere
and-
beautiful.
And
it's
the
like
vacuum guy.
hills. Yeah, that was cool.
A new
Sorry.
dust filter for your Hoover Max.
He's one of my
Extra
favorite characters.
Fisher Pro
Honestly,
Model
add him
16.
to the 5-star business.
The vacuum
Yeah.
cleaner guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Wow,
He's
what a
pretty good.
great business
I
name.
don't think I would have chosen Alaska. I don't know. I'm not like an Alaska girly myself.
Well, I didn't cry when Skinny Pete called him his hero. I cry when it showed that like he wrote the letter to Brock because I'm like, man,
Oh, I was just like, oh my god,
reminded me-
Brock, shut up.
heartless bitch.
It's like,
Yeah, El Camino was good though. I enjoyed that.
El Camino was good. It was satisfying, and I liked the almost the B plot as well, with like the Western style shootout
Yeah.
that they did with the random mechanics guys. And I like
So
that
funny.
they elaborated on how messed up the situation was that Jesse had to go through. Because I mean, they did do the thing where it's like, oh, Jesse is sad about something that happened to him, and it's
Aw.
but they kind of fleshed it out more, and like I think that they finally gave him like Jesse has the opportunity to live a happy life, and that did make me happy because I want good things for Jesse. You know what I mean?
I will never forget though watching El Camino, the scene with the flashback with Walt. My mom was like,
Oh yeah.
"Walt's alive!" I'm like, "Mom, this is a flashback."
and his bald cap that he had
Because
on.
my mom has this weird thing, like as soon as she sees something on screen, she just like immediately overreacts to it. Like in Force Awakens when Han Solo died, and I was in the movie theater with
Spoiler.
her. Spoiler alert. When I was in the movie theater with her, And as soon as it happened, she's like, "Did they just kill Han Solo?" And I'm just like, "Yes, Mom, they just killed Han Solo." But like, she thought that Walt was back, and I'm like,
That's
this
funny.
is clearly a flashback.
No, one of my favorite parts of the movie too was just like, and I loved the relationship
like
between
that scene,
Mike
though.
and Jesse.
Yeah.
Mike really wanted to help Jesse, and
Well,
and
I
like
feel
they started off El
everybody wanted to
Camino
help
with this
Jesse.
quote,
Like,
like
that
where
was
would
the
you?
thing.
Except for Connor, apparently.
Except
no one
for
wants.
Connor.
No one Jesse.
Everybody
Mike and
wanted to
Jesse,
help
yeah.
Jesse. Walter, Mike,
Gus.
Todd.
The only person that really helped Jesse was Todd, and it was to
Truly.
get pizza. Okay, again, I just need to point this out. A man, you have been kidnapped by a serial killer, right? You draw a gun and point it at him, and you end up giving it back, right? He's gonna shoot you, right? He's gonna kill you now for you doing that. No, he's gonna take you out to pizza. That's how
That
nice
was like
Todd is.
that was a Ramsey Reek moment. That really was.
Yes, yes, but I think Todd is by far nicer
My name is
and better
Reek.
than Ramsey.
Reek.
But yeah, great show.
Yeah, we have to watch Better Call Saul, I guess.
Yeah,
Maybe one day.
That could be our next episode. on
The
this
only
topic.
thing that I really I mean, like, I just want to know more about Gustavo's backstory. I have to say, I really do.
God, I'd love to see more
I
Gustavo.
I don't necessarily need to know more. I don't need to know more about Todd. I know. You know what I mean?
No, I want a whole Todd spinoff.
Oh my god.
I know what I need to know.
I want an Uncle. What's his name?
Uncle Jack.
Give me an Uncle Jack spin. Uncle Jack
No.
and Todd.
No. Uncle Jack's gonna say something deeply problematic.
I know, and
More
Todd's gonna be like,
problematic.
Uncle Jack, that's not right.
No,
and then
that's
he
just
shoots
the neo-Nazi way. He just.
Todd's gonna be like, you know what, Uncle Jack? I think what you're saying is problematic.
And then
I'm
he
like,
shoots a
yes,
kid in the
Todd.
background.
Then he kills a child.
To quote John Mulaney, I do not
Racism's
care.
wrong.
To quote John
Murders.
Mulaney, I
He
do
killed
not
a
care
white
for these
child,
new
though. Look
Nazis,
at
and you
that.
may quote me on that. So are you ready?
I'm
Yeah, I guess
I'm
so.
ready. I don't know. If
I need you both to get something out to write or put your phone or something with, because we're starting out with the FMK.
Okay.
And I
Full
need-
disclosure, I am a little bit sick and under the weather. So
she starts with
if I
excuses.
lose,
Excuses. Well,
that's my excuse.
This is the battle of the undefeateds, and by that I just mean 1-0, because they only faced off against Connor has beat Sean, Colleen has beat myself. Now it's time for them to face each other. And we're beginning with our Breaking Bad bloodbath. Again, 7 questions. I will ask you the questions. There's only one this or that question, so I will let you know when that is coming up.
Thank you.
Everything is open-ended. Whoever answers first will defend their answer first. And are you both ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Your first question is, of course, I think it's going to be a new trademark now, a fuck, marry, kill. I'm going to give you 3 characters, and you're going to assign each one to either will you fuck them, will you marry them, or will you kill them.
This isn't a speed thing, right?
This is not a speed thing.
Okay.
Write your answer, give them to me. If they're the same, then I'll have to alter the question and we'll edit this out. If they're different, then we're good to go. Your 3 characters. Todd,
Oh,
Damn it!
yeah.
Gustavo Fring,
Oh, yeah.
and Gail.
Oh, this is easy. Oh no! Wait, no, it's. Oh no! What do I? Okay.
Here, I'm
Connor's
done.
answer is in.
Okay.
Connor's answer is
It
in.
I
took
could
one
change
brain
this.
cell to do
I
that.
could change this.
It took one brain cell.
I could change it if I have to.
They are the same.
Okay. To play.
What do we do then?
To play devil's advocate, I'll change.
I could swap too. I mean, I could swap.
I'm
I could swap
gonna-
my fucking Mary.
Yes, that's what I'm
Oh,
gonna do.
okay. So
Okay.
Colleen and I are in agreement.
Okay, so then what should we do then?
Oh, I mean, obviously we should. I can explain my points here
I
if you'd
think
like.
I could argue my point
Yeah.
too. Actually, no. I think I have a. Oh no. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, so what are we doing? So are you changing your answer, or do you want me to
Oh,
come up with
yeah. let me
Colleen
show
has
you
changed
my-
her answer.
Here.
So.
Too easy.
Oh, too easy. So they're both killing Gale, which is very upsetting.
Yeah, because it's funny, because Gale is funny to kill. I mean, just like shot in the head. If anything, I would enjoy it, even though I really like Gale.
So, really the
I'd
only
make
thing
it,
that we're
like,
debating here,
first.
Connor would fuck Todd and marry Gus, whereas
Ew.
Colleen would fuck Gus and marry Todd. So, Connor, you gave me your slip first, so I will let you defend your answer.
So I'm walking down the aisle, and at the end of the aisle is Gustavo, and I kiss the bride, and all Gustavo looks to me and he says, "What does he say, Matt?"
is my dress to your liking?
No, is this marriage to your liking?
Oh.
That's what he looks at me and says.
I love that in the scenario he's wearing a full ball-gown dress.
Well, Gustavo
cool.
would do anything for me, and that's the reason that he is wife material. Gustavo is the world's best boss, but imagine being married to the world's best boss. Not only do you have the income, and this is why I chose to fuck Todd, because I love Todd, and Todd would do anything. Look what he did for Stevia girl. What's her name? Lydia? Look what he did for Lydia. Imagine the sex that he was prepared to give her.
He was prepared. He was ready.
Gustavo's gay. Ooh. See, Gustavo can treat me right over time. Todd can give me the night of my life, I think.
Okay. That's compelling.
Yes. And I mean, Todd would kill a kid if a kid found out that we had sex. You know what I mean? It's just like...
If a kid found out,
I don't know.
kill the kid.
But Gustavo, right, I have... Todd's income is all right, but Gustavo's income is... I mean, not only does he own a meth empire, but he owns the best chicken business in town. So I don't need him to make me meals, even though, wait, he does that for people that he doesn't like. He makes beautiful soups for them.
So what does he make for people he likes?
Oh my... Thank you, Colleen. See, Colleen's making my points.
Well, we initially had the same answer. So I'm agreeing.
We need to make it clear because we're on the same page here. But yeah, that's the gist of it. It's the income. It's the meals. Is this marriage to your liking? It's the meticulous planning. Oh, it's everything you could want in a life partner.
This also does make sense that Colleen had to change her answer because, Connor, you did give me your slip first.
Oh, so fast. I mean, I've been thinking about marrying Gustavo since I met him as a character.
The whole point of the show is that if you answer first, you get the right to defend your answer first.
Yep.
So, Colleen, I'm sorry you had to change your answer, but you are now defending him.
But I very much respect your answer.
You would swap the roles of Gus and Todd. Explain why.
So here's the thing. Gustavo...
Wait.
Yeah.
Fuck Gale. You have to start with that. Not actually.
No.
Kill him.
Killing him.
Is what we're saying. Is throw him under the bus.
But he sings.
Because Todd and Gustavo...
I don't want that. Imagine that intimately. I would throw
You come home, you get all this coffee?
I would throw myself off the balcony like Todd's cleaning lady.
Yeah, but you can kill Gale and steal his coffee.
I'd steal his recipe, become a millionaire.
Fair enough.
So, listen. Gustavo may be making you a soup. Todd is making me a personalized snow globe with little miniatures of me and him inside of it. He's hyper-obsessing over me, which I love. I'm his queen, I'm iconic. He's obsessed with me. Which is every girl's dream, truly. So, also, Gustavo's gay. So, like, I would maybe spend the night with him, help him confirm his sexuality.
But he might be like, huh?
So I get what I'm saying. I don't want him to have any questions left. So he's like, yeah, no, I'm 100%
Before
gay.
he throws up, though, he has to kneel down with the towel.
Right. But I don't think that he would be rude about it. I don't even think he would throw up. I think he would just be like, this was not to my liking. And then he would just keep it moving and grooving. And then I think we both have a very professional relationship afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, like, Todd, I think he would kill for me. And he killed for Walter White, who he wasn't even in love with. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, I think Todd would go to the ends of the earth. He loves interior design.
He does love interior design.
He's very thorough. So I bet he is a good cleaner.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, anything that Todd puts his mind to, he can be great at.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I think that's Todd's true gift. However, I mean, I would counter... The thing is, Matt has brought up some negatives about Todd, and that is that Todd is sometimes unhinged and unpredictable, right? Todd will surprisingly shoot a child without question.
But don't you love it when your partner's spontaneous?
I love it. I love it in the bed, right? But I don't want Todd being married to him to spontaneously decide to kill me
or take me on a vacation.
Kill. Yeah, spontaneous. I want meticulous planning, and that's what Gustavo provides. And Gustavo would never do anything like unpredictable. He loves consistency.
But that could get boring. See, for me, I'm trying to spice things up.
No, because if you wanted it, Gustavo would deliver, of course. The issue with Todd is that he could wake up and be like, I want to strangle you. And I think that Todd is a better sex.
Todd has never killed somebody for no reason. Todd has only killed people for very specific reasons.
Well, his cleaning lady was...
She found the money.
Yeah,
what's the problem?
And the thing about it, Todd is both.
Bad about
he'll
it.
chain me up. He'll torture me. I mean, that's a one night stand glory.
Are these deal breakers?
I'm gonna ring the bell on this one. Round one is commenced. That was a great fight. But we
I
gotta
love you,
move on.
Todd. I meant no disrespect.
All right. So
Don't
that
talk
was
to my
quite
man
that
like
was
that.
quite the first fight. I think we got a peek into some interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Quote. Sorry, not quote. Question number 2. What is the best one-liner in Breaking Bad? As in, like, a line of dialogue. One-liner.
Bitch.
Any specific one or just bitch?
I mean, I think, aside from, like, the serious answers, I think that bitch is very...
Okay.
I mean, it's very iconic.
I mean, like, if I was gonna give it also, like, best one-liner is a hard one.
I'm going to say I am the danger. I think that's what I remember. I think that's what the show is known for.
Yeah, I'm the
Okay.
danger, I'm the one who knocks is probably...
Okay, so we have bitch versus I am the one who knocks. So, Colleen, you answer first, so go for it.
I think I pretty much summed it up where I think that I think it speaks for itself, you know? I think that it sets the tone of a very serious concept being very comical as well. So it's like, oh, we're dealing meth and like I have cancer, but like I'm in my tighty whitey undies in the middle of the desert and there's this kid who like dresses the way he does. Like it's just I think that it encapsulates the almost quirky or like comedy aspect of Breaking Bad, which was a part that I really enjoyed. So I don't know. I think that it's a funny little line that I think is very fun.
And it's
I like
versatile, too. If you're using
it. It's
multiple...
used more than once.
It's a
No,
good
yes,
point.
yeah.
It's used more than once.
It's true.
It's a
It
great
is.
point.
Whereas like mine is only one and done. But it's only one and done because it's a class. It's an instant classic that never needs to be said again, right? That one-liner, the "I am the one who knocks," that is what Breaking Bad is famous for. I don't think Breaking Bad is famous for bitch, even though it's funny. It's definitely humorous.
It really depends on who you ask.
It really does.
It really does. But like
Bitch!
that speech to Skylar and like the fear in her face and the acting right from Bryan Cranston, it instills fear into the heart of the viewer, and it's his arc. I mean, if you look back at Walt in season 1, little bitch boy, right, is Walt in season 1.
Little what boy?
A little bitch boy, right? So like, but then
Remember Jesse's ringtone? You haven't memorized.
Yo, 148, 3 to the 3 to the 6 to the 9. Representing the ABQ.
That-
What up, biatch?
that should have been your answer.
Leave it the tone.
Best line of the whole
No,
show.
I think that "I am the danger" is the defining moment you see Walt also derail. That's when he is, yeah.
goes off the rails. on the
Final
crazy
comments
train.
or no?
No, I think it's a good one. I mean, I think that's...
I think we went two routes here. We went with a classic and we went with a serious...
Gatorade me,
serious
Fan
film.
favorite.
That's my favorite. Gatorade me, bitch.
I think the other one I would have said is Skinny Pete. I mean, you're like my hero, dude. That was just so good.
That was so good.
Surprised you didn't go with
that.
Todd going
No,
like,
honestly,
sorry
also-
for your loss.
Oh, darn it. Honestly,
Saying no, this
also,
isn't personal.
Walt finally saying it was for me is a really good line.
Yeah.
I love that line. But I'm going to stick with
We're
bitch.
going with bitch. All right. Question number 3. Obviously,
I think that'll be a funny poll.
we obviously we had
Which is
Breaking
funny.
Bad, which ran for 5 seasons. It was its own thing, but they've decided to expand on the universe by giving us things like Better Call Saul and El Camino. If they were to continue this Breaking Bad universe, what should be the next thing that they make in terms of a show or a movie?
A sequel or any spinoff?
Any spin-off.
Like
they
we
made-
choose a character.
Like they made Better Call Saul and El Camino. Like one was a prequel, one's a sequel. Like what's the next thing they should do in terms of like a spin-off for a character or something?
Skinny Pete and Badger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit. Yeah, you do be right. I mean, I have an initial idea that I don't know if I want to...
The other... Oh, you go ahead. I have another
I'm
idea
interested to
too,
hear
but-
this.
Well, what's your other idea? I don't think...
Well,
it's
my
that
other
good.
idea was going to be something I would enjoy, but I'd probably be bad for modern viewing. Would be Uncle Jack and Todd.
You just watch Todd, like...
Uncle
tell
Jack
Uncle
and the
Jack
boys.
He's problematic. Like,
Yeah.
this is wrong, Uncle Jack.
Listen,
and then
okay,
he kills a kid.
before you answer, sorry, Uncle Jack. I mean, the whole situation, like, he's a Nazi, very bad, but he left Walt money, very respectable at the same time.
Well, Walt's a white guy,
You know? Yeah, you're right.
so...
Anyway,
Um...
so you're making a Skinny Pete and Badger show.
Skinny
You
Pete
should
and
do...
Badger.
Okay, just saying, the movie should be about the two of them as expert assassins.
Why,
And it's just
why are
them,
you helping me?
No, it should be them, like, tailing the two rich people, so it includes them, and then it's just those two, like, bumbling through, trying to pretend to intimidate them all this time.
What is
That's
your...
so funny.
What is your spin-off movie / TV show
I'm, like,
in the
really
world of
struggling.
Breaking Bad?
I'm really struggling.
Badger moles?
Can I... I mean, I can just throw out ideas until something sticks for a couple seconds. It could be about Holly and Hank's granddaughter both growing up, meeting in college, and then they become criminals.
Hank's
and they're also...
granddaughter.
Or
Excuse me? What
his,
the hell?
his niece?
Hank doesn't even have a kid.
Not Hank. Mike.
Oh!
The
Is
two
this
young
like a
girl
Skywalker
characters.
lineage where they have to do the same thing as their parents?
Or they repeat the mistakes, but they meet in college and then they date, and it's like, whoa.
So is this? So is that your movie?
So Holly
But
becomes
it
a meth maker?
I also would love a Marie movie where it's just her like crafting some insane life.
A
for
Marie
herself.
heist movie where she pulls off the biggest...
The biggest act of kleptomaniacy possible.
It's like Ocean's 11.
I think Hank and Gomez cop movie would be great.
Hank and Gomez take on.
Like a
Elle.
buddy cop movie. It's Lethal Weapon.
But
Okay,
they're
so we've-
both-
so
Which,
but
by the
they're
way, the
both
actor
dead.
for Hank is in the Lethal Weapon movies.
All right, so we've listed a lot of different.
Well, I've listed one, and Colleen has decided to list all of the others.
I really can't. I mean, you took the good one though. Like I.
Okay,
can't
well,
think
I
of
won.
anything else.
She forfeits.
I mean, like.
You heard it
Who
here,
else?
folks. No need to vote.
Well, let me think. Like, who else is in the show? What characters am I missing?
Todd and Uncle Jack.
No, actually, yeah. My official answer is that I want a spin-off where we deep dive into Gustavo's backstory and hate.
That's what I was going to say.
Nice. Okay. All
I
right.
was
So
trying
now
to-
we finally have answers.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to
That took a little
brainstorm a character because I was like,
No, you good.
who is left?
Ooh, I have a good title
All right.
for yours.
Okay, so
What's
you answered first, so you're going to defend your Skinny Pete and Badger. Is it a show or a movie? Like, what are we
Skinny
doing
Pete
here?
and Badger should be, I think, a film.
I
Okay.
agree.
Because it needs the budget. It
And what-
definitely needs at least $300 million.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what's the gist?
Okay, so Skinny Pete and Badger are probably the most iconic duo to come out of the Breaking Bad series.
Probably.
And we're talking about
Walt and Jesse.
more of an action comedy, I think. But I liked the idea of those two becoming, like, the eyes for past Walt. Like, they are going to track billionaires with their lasers and,
That's
like,
so
keep
funny.
up and infiltrate, right? And it's really not about what they're doing. It's about them being together and them growing as people. And I think that eventually they could perhaps get trained by assassins and become proper agents themselves.
Oh my god.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why we need the film. We need that pacing, and we need that budget, most importantly.
So they're gonna be the next Bond.
All right, so Skinny Pete and Badger the movie, and Colleen, you're making a Gustavo.
Now, Colleen,
movie.
I have to interject. A great title for your movie would be Glory to Los Pollos.
Pollos.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Sorry.
Or just call it Pollos.
Yeah. Chicken. Yeah, I think that Gustavo, the only thing that I was unsatisfied with in terms of Breaking Bad, and I think that Badger and Skinny Pete had like a satisfying little send-off, especially at El Camino, so I don't know if they necessarily need an entire movie. While it would be interesting, I think that Gustavo has so much ground that you could cover in terms of his childhood and his upbringing in Haiti, because his name was also like expunged. Like, his official name that he has does not exist in terms of, like, a birth registry. So I would want to know, how did he get there? How did he go to Mexico? How did he learn to, like, get in contact with the cartel? Why did he start getting into drugs? I'm assuming that must be something happened in Haiti or something like that. So I feel like you could do either a short season or you could do a long movie. But I think that there's some questions that you should flesh out with Gustavo, which, cause I get that he's a mysterious character, but I think that you could do a lot by giving a little bit of background for him, right?
Yeah, I think you would make the same mistake as the Star Wars prequels in that here's an awesome villain with a mystery to how he got here, and I'm like, I don't want that answered.
But the
I
thing
like
is-
that Gustavo's this menace that owns everything up here, and we don't know why.
Well,
Whereas,
I
like,
would-
more Skinny Pete and Badger can never be negative, because it's more of an action comedy. We're there for the fun. Whereas, like, if we get into serious backstory, I'm like, you have the potential chance of of ruining Gustavo, and he is too perfect.
Well, I
think,
would
to
disagree
touch.
because I think that we've seen the show be able to do that where they've retconned and they've given Jesse like an ending, which like he didn't necessarily have in the beginning. So like that could have.
Well, he's also in Better Call Saul already.
Well, I haven't seen Better Call Saul, so I don't know if they've already done parts of that.
I mean,
Better
your guys
Call
are in El
Saul.
Camino, so...
Well, exactly, but
Those
this
go both
continues
ways.
past El Camino. This is a sequel.
But basically what I'm saying is that I have faith with the people that produce Breaking Bad that they could do a solid prequel to Gus's story, whereas if it was...
That's what they thought about
if
Star
it was
Wars.
outsourced, I would have an issue. But Star Wars isn't handled by one person every single... or one team.
Lucas.
So,
George.
yeah.
Okay.
Finally got to my
Thanks,
answer.
George.
It really took some brainstorming.
Yeah, great job. All right, so next question. I had to bring this one back. I asked this one in the DC Bloodbath when you were last here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this world in Breaking Bad is not well rooted in this world that I'm about to bring it into. But
Okay.
what Breaking Bad character would be the best basis for a D&D character?
The best base for a D&D character?
I think
maybe-
Walt.
I was going to say Gale.
Okay.
Okay. Walt versus Gale. Okay.
So Walt Walt very clearly has a class going on, which is important, and I think
So does Gale.
Gale could fall into it. Gale reminds me a little bit of a bard artificer, whereas I think Walt is pure artificer class, and the artificer class in D&D is it's the scientist. It's the I use technology, and in particular, there's a subclass of the artificer called the alchemist, and that's Walt. I mean, you're using chemistry, you're making potions, you're making bombs, you're using poison.
Meth?
Bison?
You can make it for money, but Walt has such that interesting backstory and arc that you see in a good D&D campaign, where Walt starts the campaign off as an artificer, and he uses his skills to be a teacher, and he's a little bit of a failure, and he's much too skilled, and so he sets off on this adventure, and he ends up becoming a totally different character by the end, and I think that's a perfect D&D template, and in fact, like, we had invited Matt to join a D&D campaign that's upcoming, and I always recommend when you make a D&D character to play someone based on someone you really like in media, and try to copy that as a character sheet, because you know how to play that character, and you know that character is going to have a good backstory because you're kind of copying it, but making it your own in that world. And I think that Walter White is a perfect template for a great D&D character.
Alchemist artificer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you said Gale. I'm very interested to hear this.
All right, I would slightly disagree because Gale, whenever we play D&D, we find that a lot of D&D is having fun with your friends and having a goofy time. Walt is a very serious character, which I don't think you'll be able to be faithful to or have as much fun playing, whereas Gale, however, is just whimsical enough and goofy enough, and he has quirks that I think playing Gale at a table would be so enjoyable, because you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna brew my coffee, and like, ooh, I'm gonna sing my weird little song, and like, I think that Gale could work as an artificer with a performance, maybe, proficiency, because I don't think that he's as much of a bard, but he seems, maybe he'd low-level subclass
I think
into
he's
it.
a subclass, yeah.
Because
Just
he's a jack
because
of all trades.
he's also
but
not
it's-
quite as good. He's a jack of all trades, so I think he takes that little bit in Bard.
So what I would argue is that you would have much more fun playing Gale than Walt.
If you are it
If
depends.
you're playing, no, I think that, look at how when you play your current D&D character, you have way more fun playing Aiden.
That's
than
just
you
me,
have with
yeah.
playing
No, that's
Exodus.
just me.
I think that's a common person, though, because most people have more fun playing a character that is designed to be fun and entertaining.
It depends, and Walt is also goofy and funny at times.
But he's never intentionally goofy and funny, whereas Gale is like, again, he's singing little songs.
The
he's
thing about
making his
Gale
own
is like,
coffee.
what's the backstory? You're coming in with an empty character,
that's
and I
perfect.
think that
No, that's perfect,
it depends on the
because Gale-
situation in D&D.
No, because
If you're
that's
playing
actually...
a one shot, maybe, but if you want a real arc, you're getting that from Walt.
No. Walt already has a written out arc, which you've gotten in Breaking Bad. Gale, however, has an ability where you can roleplay as Gale, so I know exactly how Gale roleplays. But if, like, I'm in this random campaign with maybe a high Nordic setting or something like that, Gale, by not having that much of a backstory other than he was educated and knew Gus, I can create that backstory, and I know how to act as the character, which I think is
Well, right,
more
you could do the
important.
same thing with a Walt sheet. You don't have to follow the same exact plot that happened in Breaking Bad. That would be bad. You're taking the backstory that Walt has
But
That's
I'm saying,
season
I don't
one
think
Walt,
that
and
you-
you're playing through a game like that.
But I'm saying that
And you take it in whatever direction you want.
But I'm saying that it most likely will end in the same areas because you've hardlined this background that
And
also...
a multi-class stops you from getting high-level abilities. You're going to miss out on actually going through a regular sheet.
Well, I'm saying that's all semantics. Gale doesn't necessarily need to be multi-class, but I think if you're
I
going
think
to
he
play
does.
Gale,
I
you
think
should
he
take
does.
like a 2-level dip into Bard, only because he's a jack of all trades. But I think you're going to have more fun playing Gale, and I think that he's
no,
much
no way.
easier for a DM to use.
Okay. That was a really good fight, actually. That was really good. Nice work. I like both arguments, though.
So do I.
I stand by my argument.
Because yours is more like, I feel like yours would be, like, easier to play because you kind of know the character more
It
well.
really depends. She made good points. It'd be easier to jump into Gale. But I just think that if you want a long-term... It really depends on your playstyle in D&D.
Okay. Fair enough. I figured I'd ask that question because I know you both are
Because Gale's less
very
defined,
well versed in
yeah.
D&D and you're drinking bad stuff fresh
Gale
in your
has
head.
less of a clear arc. In
Yes,
him,
you can-
whereas-
Alrighty. Question 5. Piggybacking off of Walt, this question has all to do with Walt. What's the worst thing that he does in the show in terms of, like, morality?
Meanest thing.
Worst thing that he does in terms of morality?
Yeah, like, just, like, not redeemable. Like, what's just the worst thing he does?
Kills Gustav.
Irredeemable.
Is that your answer?
No, maybe.
No, I mean,
maybe I'm
like,
thinking.
you
You can answer that.
I'm thinking. To me, that's
Could I have like a thread line and you can tell me if I have to stop?
What's your what is it?
So I think that it starts with him killing Jane and then telling Jesse and then giving Jesse to the Nazis.
So the whole Jane thing and how he
The
handles
Jane situation.
You know what? I'm gonna.
in general.
Okay.
It's killing Gustavo for me. That's it.
it. Okay. No one said poisoning a child. Interesting.
Yo,
okay,
fuck
so
Brock.
You gotta do what you gotta do. He knew he wasn't gonna
okay,
kill Brock.
I will let
Fine.
you go with that because I was willing. It would depend on your answer.
No, Colleen could go first because she hasn't gone first yet.
Exactly. So you're saying just the whole Jane situation.
So I think as soon as he killed Jane, that was him. And again, you could argue, like, did he, like, stab Jane? No, but he watched her die. He also sat there and watched her die, choke on her own vomit. And then he didn't tell Jesse anything until the very end when he was so enraged at Jesse that he told him that he did it so that Jesse had to sit there. And also Jesse was so tortured at this point because he realized he'd been helping Walter for so long kill more and more and more people.
Mm-hmm.
So to tell Jesse in that moment, oh yeah, at the beginning of our relationship, I watched your girlfriend choke to death and I didn't do anything, and also now I'm gonna give you to the Nazis. Like, screw you, bud. That was really intense, because also in El Camino we see what they did to Jesse, and they had him on a little, like, hamster wheel, basically. So, like, I think it started with Jane, and then there was, like, the reprieve, but I think, like, him delivering that to Jesse was really brutal.
Connor.
Glory to Gustavo.
Glory to us.
It all comes back to just.
So if
Gustavo.
you think about a lot of the bad things and deaths and things like that have happened throughout Breaking Bad, it was all caused because of the destabilization of losing Gustavo.
Yeah, you're not
If
wrong.
Gustavo was never disrespected or killed by Walt, Mike would be alive, Jesse would be fine, because Jesse would have left. It was Walt's business with Gustavo and the downfall of Gustavo and the murder of Gustavo that ruins everything in the show. Would the plane have crashed if Gustavo would have been left alone?
No, the plane
No,
crashed
that was
because
a-
of Jane.
That was season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the air traffic controller was her dad.
Did that happen that episode? I forget.
No, that was
that later?
That was the end of season 2. Yours is the end of season 4.
Right, no, I'm just wondering when the plane happened.
No, that's
because
season
like
2.
so much happened throughout the show because of his involvement with Gus. He had it's a meth society, right? So there are bad things happening like crime and stuff.
Society.
But most of the main characters we know would still be alive. So it's as if he got Hank killed. It's as if he got Jesse killed or Mike killed because they were all fine. Saul would have still had his job. Oh God, like just so much went wrong because of getting rid of Gustavo, and then of course the power trip that Walt gets that leads to everything happening in season 5. I think even if he worked like he did in season 3, politely with Gustavo, as I said, everything would have been fine. You could have ended the show there. They could have lived happily ever after. And I think that his betrayal to Gus is the worst thing he did in the show.
All right.
Morally, too, because it's Gus.
Fair enough. Any last points? Or you're good?
No.
I like both your answers. Very nice job. Question number 6. This is a this or that question. So, first answer I hear will be the answer you get. Whoever does not answer will be the one that gets stuck with the other one. You are starting your own meth operation, just like Walt did. And you need a partner, just like Walt did. And you only have 2 options. Who do you choose? Skinny Pete or Badger?
Oh, no.
Badger.
Okay.
Okay.
Connor gets Badger. Colleen, you'll be defending Skinny Pete. Connor, go.
Oh, I can do that easily.
Yeah, okay, so, I get to start, though. So, Badger, I think, first of all, is more prevalent in the story. Badger we get from season 1. Right?
I think Skinny Pete shows up like early season
Skinny
2, but
Pete,
yes, Badger is in season 1, I believe.
And although they both help Jesse at the end, so they both show competence, and they both have stopped using, as far as I know, right? They stopped using towards the end. They both reformed, so I think both could be helpful in a job of what are we doing?
You're starting you're like
Just running a business.
You're
Running
running
meth.
like a meth business.
A meth business, right. So,
So, like,
I think...
imagine you're Walt and you're trying to get in the meth business and you need a partner.
Oh, yeah. So I think Badger's been in the business longer, at least as far as we know.
Not true.
How is that not true?
Because Skinny Pete was in prison, which is where he met Tuco, and that's initially how they got into contact with higher drug
Yeah, but we
dealers.
see Badger here for longer.
Badger's never been... Oh, no, he has,
In the show.
He has been in prison.
Yeah.
He's on parole.
Right, and Badger didn't talk at all when he was taken in. And we saw that in the show, of Badger not talking. And we see Badger in general just, like, listening to whatever Jesse tells him to do. Almost like a Todd. Like, I feel like Badger isn't a person that would question things. And I think the most important part is on the downtime or while we're cooking, I get the best goddamn conversations you could ask for.
Okay. Skinny Pete?
Alright, Skinny Pete is much more useful in terms of connections, which is mostly what Walter was looking for Jesse's help with in the first place, assuming that I'm a chemical mastermind in this scenario. But Skinny Pete is the one that initially connected Walter to Tuco, and that means that Skinny Pete is much more intertwined with the drug world than Badger is. Because Badger was a user and he got nabbed for using drugs, but then he's out on parole. Skinny Pete is much more in tune with like dealing and who's do I have to talk to, right? Skinny Pete is more of the go-to guy when it comes to getting connections and it comes to distributing product. That's
Oh, you think Skinny Pete could outsell Badger?
Yes.
Do you see how well Badger flipped the sign when he had that job?
Are we flipping signs?
Oh
Are we
yeah,
selling
you're on the
meth?
corner selling meth. You're like, come
Corner
get the blue
sign.
meth here, right? And Badger's
Badger's gonna get
outperforms
caught
every
by
time.
No, Badger got had by an undercover cop. Skinny Pete's never been had by an undercover cop.
What do you mean Skinny Pete was in jail? Why do you think he was in jail?
Why do you think Badger was in jail?
Because they both got caught by an undercover
But we've also seen Badger on screen get caught by an undercover cop.
And
whereas
not talk.
We have not seen Skinny Pete get caught. And I would be Skinny Pete's hero.
They just got caught at different times.
And Skinny Pete plays piano too, that's all I'm saying.
Oh shit! Yeah,
You'd
but
have the
Badger
music.
is better at racing games, as we saw.
Fair enough.
Badger's
here's
a better
what I'm
gamer,
saying that-
and better gamers are always better people.
Badger's fine, but Skinny
Quote
Pete...
me on that.
Skinny Pete is a better drug dealer. He's gonna look up to me more. And I just think, again, if we're talking about personality, very similar, but I think Skinny Pete's
Mm-hmm.
abilities outclass Badger's.
I just disagree with that fact.
Fair enough. And your final question. And this one you only also have a limited amount of options, but it's not a this or that question.
Zero.
What is the best season of Breaking Bad?
Oh, jeez.
1.
5.
Oh! I think this also will come down.
You're just defending season 1 though, but you're not defending season 1 and 2. You're just defending season 1.
If I can count 2, I can, but I think if I had to pick a season, I think 1 is even stronger than 2.
Okay, so why is
I really
season...
love season 4 too, though. But yeah, I'll pick
So
5.
do I, and I think every season in this show is fantastic. But I'm someone that always loves. So like my favorite book series is the Aragon series, and my favorite Star Wars or the original like trilogies 4. I love the beginnings of journeys, and season 1 of Breaking Bad is something that I could not stop watching once I watched episode 1. Whereas in season 5, we took like 3 weeks off halfway through. And it's because you can take breaks, because it's almost like 2 seasons, where season 1 is just like non-stop. It's very short, and it's very, it's such a great introduction to the whole entire cast of Breaking Bad. And you get early Walt. You get early Walt, and you feel bad for him, and you are excited when he's excited, and you're learning about the drug world as he's learning about the drug world, and everything feels real, whereas, again, your choice, especially season 5, everything feels like it's a little forced, and things...
I wouldn't agree with forced, but okay.
Oh, and it's just like, and you're already deep in the drug game, and in this way, I'm being introduced with Walt. Jesse is still really funny and pure. He's not Reek. I'm getting...
Connor doesn't hate him yet.
I still like Jesse. I love Hank. It just... I love everyone here, and this is where I fell in love with the show. And not saying that it gets worse. It's just that it sets the tone for the whole show, and I think that 5... Although the last, the very end is good, I'm missing some of these.
I think the beginning
I'm missing
was
some of these characters that I love, and I love them because of season 1.
Okay. I'm surprised you said season 1 because it's the only season without Gus, but whatever.
Oh, or Todd. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whereas Colleen, which we'll lead into right now.
So what do I have?
Oh,
I have
shit.
Todd.
Oh,
also,
shit.
yeah, you both picked the only seasons without Gus, because Gus is only on 2, 3,
I know.
4.
So the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I actually really love season 4. Season 4 is really, really good. Like, I love everything that has to do with Gus. I do love watching him. He's very entertaining. But I picked season 5 because I enjoy that it was a satisfying ending. Like, I honestly just really enjoy that finally Walt admits it was for him. I was waiting for that. I am glad that we finally see that, like, Skylar's let go from this whole situation. Like, she's gonna be fine. We saw the whole thing with Hank, which had me on the edge of my seat. I kind of knew that he was probably gonna die, but, like, oh God, it's, like, so suspenseful, right? You're like, oh geez, like, what's going on? Also with Hank figuring it out, confronting Walt. We have the part of the season where we see Walt is like, at the beginning, the cold open of like, oh, Walt has hair and he's like buying a shotgun and blah, 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 blah. So, I think that it just had, again, it was a very good finale. And I think that if you have a finale that satisfies fans, I think that is going to be a peak for a lot of people. Like, again, one of my favorite scenes to compare another show that I really liked, Avatar. Some of my favorite scenes from the series take place within the finale, which we talked about. So I think Breaking Bad did a really good job in terms of having a satisfying ending without feeling also too happy. Like, I like that Walter never necessarily got to talk to Walter Jr. again after the phone call. Mm-hmm. I did like that because I didn't think that it would go well. I thought it would be... I didn't want Walter Jr. to be like, you know what, Dad? I forgive you. Like, he's supposed to be a high school kid that, like, doesn't quite get it. You know what I mean? So I liked that they did that. I liked that he got to say bye to his daughter and then he got to leave the money for the kids. We saw funny stuff where they do last calls to a lot of our favorite characters, like Badger and Skinny Pete with, like, the assassins. He finally got to mess with those two that, like, I guess took the company from him, but, like, not really. That was kind of his fault as well. But you know what I mean? Like, we felt like Walt had been slighted by these two rich people for so long, and he finally got to give them payback, which was really satisfying. We got to see him kill a bunch of Nazis. Like, everything, I think, in that moment was... I think in that scene, it just wrapped everything up very well, and it was very satisfying.
Yeah, I think you're just talking about a few of the last episodes. I'm talking about the entire season. I'm also talking about,
like, Hank's entire end of his arc I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I just think that season 1, like, I'm getting to know all these characters, and and it's almost like a nostalgia. I miss getting to know these characters. Like, I love learning about them. In season 5, I'm saying goodbye to these characters. We're not seeing them.
For me, it feels good to say goodbye in a fulfilling way.
And I think the last season's never my favorite in any show. Because I miss the process of being in it with them instead of leaving it. Because the show is so good, I kind of don't want it to end. I do agree it ended well, but that feeling of, like, Hank is Hank is, going off the rails. Walt's going off the rails, whereas in season 1, I'm learning about these characters.
We didn't end off the rails, though. We ended in a very satisfying,
I
well-wrapped
agree.
way. So I'm just
the
saying,
process of getting there.
For me, it's just very satisfying for me as a watcher to see everything wrap up in a satisfying way. Walt's finally honest,
And just
Jesse's freed.
The
it
speed
feels
that we
good.
went through season 1 in 2 days is because you couldn't put the way those episodes ended too. You just couldn't put it down.
I guess.
I think season 5 was a little slower in the middle parts of it.
I'm always just excited to get to the end because I want to know what happens, in terms of, do the characters get a happy ending? What happens?
No,
I guess, for me, it was very satisfying, and I think Walt got the best ending that he could have.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that.
Good fight. I would not have answered either of those questions. My favorite season is 4.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's...
Glory to Gustavo.
Because I think 4, personally, is the only season that is really just, its own thing with a beginning, a middle, and an end. It really kind of feels like that to me. But that would be my argument. I'm not fighting.
The cliffhanger ending of season 1,
I feel like there was also a lot of time...
There is no ending in season 1. It just kind of ends.
That's why it's so good.
Whereas season 4 clearly has, its own little arc. That's why I like that one so much. But season 5 is also very high up there. I would not have answered season 1 personally, but I liked your argument.
And every season I've watched, I was just God.
I mean, every single
I miss
season of the
season
show,
1 and 2. It's also that
grade.
aspect of no one knows that Walt's doing this, and it's a secret still, and I just love the process of the funniness of him and Jesse learning to do this too.
I guess also I didn't say season 4 because I love all of the Gus content, but I only like Walt content at the end when he's plotting.
Yeah, I kind of hate Walt during the
I really
seasons.
don't like
love
watching
Gus.
Walt in the beginning of season 4 because he's just being dumb and he's sabotaging.
Season
Jesse,
1 is
and
great
it's frustrating me.
because Gustavo has not yet been bothered by Walt.
He's uninterrupted.
There you have it. That was a good fight, though.
Yeah.
And now it is up to you all to decide who won. I hope a lot of you have watched the show, or else we're not going to get many votes. So we'll see what happens.
It's just gonna be Matt.
It's just gonna be me. No, that was a good fight, though. I'm very happy that you're all able to come. Next week, we're doing an opposite of this. So Colleen and Connor are coming back.
This is our show now.
And I'm not going to be here. And Sean is going to now have them to talk about something that they are very passionate about, that we hinted at today. I believe you're doing an episode about D&D. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna have Sean and Colleen fight.
That is going to be a time. And
Oh,
Colleen, you should...
Or we'll decide that.
And Colleen, you'll probably mop the floor with him, because,
Sean's never won.
Well, all of my
Sean is the
opinions are
Jets
facts,
of everything is
all of
fine.
Colleen's opinions are facts. That is
And
very
it's all
true.
about the Mets, baby. The Mets.
It was never about the Mets, Skylar. It was
It was
about the
about the
Mets,
Mets.
baby. What about the Mets? It's not the Mets. Let's go. Hit a home run. Let's go Mets. All right. There we go. But yes, so we thank you all for listening to this episode about Breaking Bad. We are once again over the 2-hour limit, so good on us. That was a great fight, though. I'm intrigued to see who wins between the two undefeated heavyweights. So once again, thanks so much. And Connor, if you want to take us out.
And just remember, folks, no matter what happens,
How crazy life gets.
how crazy life gets is what I meant. Everything is fine.
Glory to los pollos.
Klappa pelata la fai torte che venga minga e soffra dei i soffra dei fa la frittata che venga minga klappa pelata klappa pelata la fai torte che venga minga e soffra dei i soffra dei fa la frittata che venga minga klappa pelata la fai torte che venga minga e soffra dei